Now they have these, it's Eric, don't want to forget.
I have an opinion about I have an opinion about many things.
Since it's 4:30 now. The pizza and then the last one. There's a whole.
I had a meeting with Stacy this morning. I had a meeting with Stacy this morning. So,
did you?
yeah.
She want to do some stuff?
She was asking some questions that I didn't know the answer to. Mainly what's going on at, what are we responding to anything that happened at the state legislature?
Oh, just
Didn't know.
Okay, we're ready to go here. We're going to start here shortly. So I will call to order the Tippecanoe County Area Plan Commission Executive Committee public hearing for April 1st, 2026. First on the agenda is the approval of the minutes.
No, first on the
Do we do roll call?
roll call.
Executive.
yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Jackson Bogan. Present. Larry Leverance.
Here.
Diana Looper.
Here.
Tom Murtaugh.
Present.
Kathy Parker.
Here.
Jerry Reynolds.
Here.
Gary Schroeder.
Here.
Quorum present.
Thank you. Next, then, is the approval of the minutes.
I move to approve the minutes from the March 4th, 2026 public hearing as submitted.
I second it.
Do we have a motion and a second? Any comments or corrections? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. New business?
Our subdivision case is ready to be heard.
Very good, thank you. Public hearing. Looks like I have a statement to read. For those of you unfamiliar with our procedure, the commission would like for you to know the following. When we hear a request to subdivide land, we're only concerned as to whether the actual drawing showing the division into lots meets the technical requirements of our ordinance. The question of appropriateness has already been determined. Anyone wishing to make a comment or provide us with information regarding any subdivision petition will be given an opportunity to do so. We are a 7-member body and a majority of 7 is 4. Regardless of how many commissioners are actually present, at least 4 votes in favor or 4 votes against are required for our action to be official. If fewer than 4 of us agree to either approve or disapprove an action, the case must be heard again next month. Our vote on a request to subdivide is final. When addressing the commission, please state your name and address for the record. Please limit your statements to no more than 5 minutes, and we ask that you not repeat what others before you've already said. Cell phones must be turned off while the meeting's in session. If you need to make a call, please step out of the room. Exhibits presented to the commission become property of the commission. And if you speak, I assume we have a sign-up sheet over there. So if you once you get done speaking, then you can sign in. Next, I guess we will.
I move that there be incorporated into the public hearing portion of each application to be heard this evening and to become part of the evidence at such hearing, the Unified Zoning Ordinance, the Unified Subdivision Ordinance, the Comprehensive Plan, the bylaws of the Area Plan Commission, the application and all documents filed therewith, the staff report and recommendation on the applications to be heard this evening, and responses from the checkpoint agencies.
I second it.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. First case.
I move to hear and vote on S 5326 Max Wabash subdivision, minor sketch.
I second it.
Kathy, please.
Okay. Excuse me. Petitioner's property is located here on the northwest corner of 300 West and US 52. It is zoned general business and floodplain. You can see it's across the street from Menards. Klondike Elementary School is to that's catty corner. Here's a look at the aerial. Here's a look at the site plan. This is for a proposed Circle K gas station. So you can see the location of the proposed driveways. And here's a look at the sketch plan. It's basically 3 lots coming down into 1 lot, so not much to it. There are 8 conditions of approval, and we are recommending conditional primary approval.
Thank you, Kathy. Petitioner or their representative?
Hi, Gretchen Westerkamp from DLZ for the petitioner, and we agree to all of the conditions.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you.
Let's see, any comment from the public on this petition?
Susan Schechter, 1001 Ferry Street, Lafayette, Indiana. I'm wondering if there is a decommissioning bond required for this gas station. I live kitty corner from where an old gas station turns a brownfield, and the property next door is contaminated with petrochemical residue. I believe that when a gas station is going in, it deserves to be treated with the same level of rigor and regulation as other developments in the county. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to comment? And I'm going to ask staff if, do we have anything in the ordinance to that? Does the state have some, I was thinking the state had something, some regulations.
Yeah, we have a decommissioning requirement.
You're not on.
Pushing it.
Great. There is a decommissioning plan requirement in Lafayette, and I think West Lafayette as well. The county did not pass that, so, and this
Okay.
is in the county.
Okay. Very good. I guess that's the answer to that question, but I was thinking the state maybe had something.
I
to-
think.
Maybe Sally has some comments. Cleanup requirement, okay.
Does this go on automatically?
Yeah.
Okay. There is a thing called a
Name,
LUS.
we know who you are, Sally.
Oh, I'm sorry, Sally Fahey, 3910 Morehouse Road.
It's your first time at a meeting.
There is a thing at the state called a LUST, a leaky underground storage tank, and part of your gas taxes, state gas tax that you pay at the pump, goes to take care of leaky underground storage tanks. So if there is one, there is a fund to take care of that.
Very good, thank you for that. Hearing no other comments, any comments or questions from the commission? Hearing none, we have a ballot, and I'm assuming there isn't not any bonding on this, just a subdivision, thank you. So do we have a...
I checked them all.
I like it personally.
I just read the question mark.
We have a unanimous ballot for conditional approval.
Very good, thank you, Ryan. Approval of the April APC, please.
I move to place UZO Amendment Number 126, Solar Energy on the April 15th, 2026 Area Plan Commission Public Hearing Agenda.
I second it.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Subdivisions, please.
I move the following subdivision petitions be placed on the April 15th, 2026 Area Plan Commission Public Hearing Agenda at the petitioner's request and placement thereon being without reference to compliance or noncompliance with the adopted subdivision ordinance. Stockwell Park Street subdivision, minor sketch, S5339, S5340, cottages at Millbrook, major preliminary, S5341, Kraus Acres subdivision, major preliminary, S5342, Purdue Research Park, Parkview Health subdivision, major preliminary, and S5343, 501 Cherokee minor subdivision, minor sketch.
I second it.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Rezones.
I move the following rezone petition be placed on the April 15th, 2026 Area Plan Commission Public Hearing Agenda, Z3026 Aaron Walker, R1 to R1C.
I second it.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. BZA.
I move the following petitions be placed on the April 22nd Area Board of Zoning Appeals Public Hearing Agenda. BZA 2225, Omega Chapter of Pi Kappa Phi. BZA 2226, Jason Moreau. BZA 2227, Jason Morrow, Printworks 3D LLC, and BZA 2228, Amy Pollard.
I second it.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Budget report.
Happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions for Ryan? Hearing none, we'll take that motion.
I move we approve the March 2026 budget report as submitted.
I second it.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Any other business?
Determination of variances, I think we need to check off.
Did we miss that?
Yes.
Not on my list.
No? Didn't make the motions? Okay.
It's not in the motions.
But if we need
All
to
right.
do it, determination of
We
variances.
have it up on the screen for you.
Okay.
Apologize for the confusion.
216. Okay, Larry, do you see that? Just the one.
I see it. What's my line?
What's my line? That shows over. The April 20th
Let's
APC
see.
meeting.
That
This is regarding use variances.
that these are not use variances.
Correct.
Prohibited
That
by.
are prohibited by statute.
Statute.
Yeah.
Thank
So-
you.
So
I second
staff
it.
is verifying that, so we submit that to you.
Okay, so we have a motion that case 2026-16, I don't know how to pronounce that. Kenneklem LLC is not a use variance.
I
Do we have
second
a
it.
second? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries.
No further business. Correct.
I'll take that last motion.
I move we adjourn.
So we're adjourned with that. We're going to start the ordinance committee here real shortly. Ordinance committee. Are we ready to go? I will call to order the Area Plan Commission of Tippecanoe County Ordinance and Bylaw Committee for April 1st, 2026. And first on the agenda is approval of minutes from the March 4th, 2026 meeting.
I move the minutes from the March 4th, 2026 meeting be approved as submitted.
I second it.
So I have a motion and a second. Any comments, corrections? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Next is updating our solar energy requirements.
Okay, first off, I've been told to pass this along, that the public comment that's been received so far, I believe is in your hands, and that all public comment we received from this point forward will advance to the APC, the full APC at their meeting. So just wanted to make that point. Did I get that right? Okay, good. All right, what we have in front of you is, as we included in our packet and on our website, kind of two documents. One is the actual ordinance format, and then the tracker spreadsheet that we had displayed last time. We've identified the items that the ordinance committee took action on, voting to advance that to the full planning commission. Those are highlighted in green in that chart. And then the location of where that change took place is mentioned in kind of this fourth column. So if you wanted to find where we put it in the proposed draft, that's where it is. And so we just did that with the chart to sort of account for all the work that's been done so far. As you know, the decommissioning plan was not complete. We had a kind of a subgroup of our study committee working on it, and they weren't able to get to kind of a consensus on a final version of content. And so staff essentially assembled one out of all the material that we had, both from our study committee members and then from peer ordinances, to try to draw something together that would be cohesive with the rest of our ordinance. And so we'll be going through that. So what I wanted to do is kind of go through the ordinance whenever that can be brought up.
And Ryan,
Yeah.
to clarify, it's in red, I believe?
Yes, those would be the new items that were.
Because you referenced green.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, red in the actual ordinance format, green in the spreadsheet, which is just a companion document. It's not, it's just for those that want to kind of say, hey, this is what we did. Where is it in the code over there? That kind of thing.
Yeah.
So the main event really is this document.
And if somebody wants some of the on the desk over there, they can pick one up.
That's
and
right.
follow along.
And you'll notice there's these little yellow kind of comment tabs. We're going to go through those bit by bit. There's just a handful of them, but that's essentially staff recommended additions or edits to what you approved so far that we felt should be included. So we'll sort of submit those for your consideration and either recommendation to move on it, change it, or just ignore it. And then, but the decommissioning section you have not seen, and so that you've not taken any action on it, so we'll need to kind of go through that as well. So if that could be brought up on the screen. Okay. All right, so we have the definition for abandon added in that was approved by the ordinance committee. That takes care of section 1. For the definition of solar energy systems, staff is recommending this item here, as is shown on the screen. And essentially, we're trying to address the issue of the battery storage systems. That there are some of these solar energy systems that will incorporate a fairly sizable complex of these types of systems. And we're essentially adding a prohibition on essentially the threshold for where those systems become fairly significant. The aggregate capacity greater than 100 megawatt hours. And so we felt like adding that in the definition would sort of close the door on the battery storage system included into an SES. So we sort of submit that for your consideration. So kind of flag these as we go, and then we can go back and discuss them. Occupied structure, we did make some changes there, if you want to highlight the comment there. So basically, trying to clear up, I believe, Nathan, that we were trying to, not really distinguish between a residence or anything else, just an occupied building. So it could be a business building and so forth. And so that was one addition there that we wanted to add. Participating, non-participating, there were no changes there. Moving to section 2, large-scale energy systems, the AA prohibition is included as you voted on. And then we also added the footnote that no more than 6,000 total acres of the county shall ever be developed for large-scale solar. So there is that cap. And that's what you had voted on. Moving to section 3, the ground-mounted solar energy systems, the 16-foot is included. And then we essentially are doing a reorganization of Chapter 4, and so we're just moving some things around. We didn't change any of the content, but we kind of wanted to call out the various elements we're moving the wind in certain places, moving some of these other miscellaneous uses in other places. But there's no change in content. It's essentially just shifting around in order to make just the physical pages easier to kind of read through. So happy to answer any questions about that, but there's really no vote needed on that since there's no content changing. All right.
Brian?
Sir?
Just to break, I think I'll share kind of our plan so people can plan their comments.
Okay, of course, yeah, go ahead.
What we're going to do is Ryan's going to run through this like he is now, tell us the changes so we understand. Hopefully everybody has a copy. Then we'd want to hear from the steering committee members, comments that they have from the proposed ordinance. Then we want to hear from the county commissioners that are here. And then we're going to take public input and that can address any of these issues that we have in the ordinance.
That's right.
So as people can plan their comments.
Thank you for
Ryan.
that. Yeah. Thank you for doing that. Yep. All right. Okay, left off on section 5. Really no changes here. This is everything that you had approved for 412.1, 412.2. Let's see. And I believe page 3, there are no recommended additions or edits. On page 4 of this document, we have a table, and we can sort of highlight it, where essentially, we've done this in other areas of the ordinance as well, where we'll take the actual verbiage content and just represent it in a chart as well, because there's some people that read easier off of charts than off of just legal language stacked up in it with all of its subsections. So this is a way to try to break it out, separate large scale from community scale, and then identify setbacks based on the property lines of non-participating providers and so forth. So there's no content changing, it's just repackaging, and this is just an addition. So, and then following that, sub 8, let's see, RCL boundary, contiguous separate, this way by. Is this for sub B, Nathan?
No, this is, sub 8, subsection A. So this is the language that says except where divided by public right-of-way.
Okay. Right, so we're recommending that distinction be made, that, contiguity is not broken up by right-of-way. All right, and then continuing on to page 5, there's really no changes. This is everything that you had approved last time.
No, we've got a few here, Ryan.
Except for D? Yeah, that's where I'm landing, right there. And then the buffer yard, we had a mistake on there?
So we had labeled the buffer yard recommendation as consensus when it was not, in fact, consensus by the solar committee.
Okay. Yeah, so since there was not a consensus item, we went ahead and pulled together what we felt would work in this regard. And that is, the type A buffer yard, and then, let's see, is sub 2, what is that one? Under D2?
So the developer of the project has provided two options. They can either install a type
Yeah.
A buffer yard or the larger
extended
setback.
Right. So basically providing an option, given the circumstances, situation, might be to their advantage to choose the larger setback, might save them money on plantings, or they may feel that they need to be up close and the buffer yard would be a better option for them. So this is something that had been discussed in the study committee, and so we just kind of drew from that and felt it seemed reasonable. So again, we submit that for your consideration. I believe that's it, all for chapter 5.
No, we've got another one.
On page 6, I think is the next one?
No.
No, did I miss one? Oh. What am I missing?
D sub 2. The language that changed this provision to occupied structure rather than property line. So the 1,000-foot setback option.
Okay.
I can describe this. So
Yeah, go
what
ahead.
we were just talking about for the buffer yard, to choose, unless it's waived by the non-participating property owner, the developer can either install a type A buffer yard or do the extended setback. And we put the setback from the property line, but instead we believe that having it from the unoccupied structure makes more sense because that's what our other setbacks are based on. We have based on unoccupied structure and property line. So that's why this is added.
So the attempt is to make it consistent with similar provisions. Okay. So, all right. Now I think we can move on to page 6. This is the preliminary road use, is that right? Yeah, okay. So as part of the special exception application requirement, we are requiring a preliminary road use agreement be submitted. Obviously, it would be for consideration by staff, by the county, to determine later executing the final version, but at least there's one up front that could be shared with the public at the early stages of a potential submission.
Right. Are you referring to the 1C vegetative management plan?
Yes.
Okay.
C1B.
Oh, yeah, C1C. Okay.
Yeah, sorry. Maybe we need to put it in a chart, make it a little, all right, so then that's it for that page. Page 7. This was a determination that I had a lot of support amongst, the study committee members, as I recall, about dropping this provision completely, feeling that it was onerous, I believe, is kind of the direction we were going with.
Yeah, since it only applies to large scale, and this is for facilities with less than 10 kilowatt hour capacity, it's just kind of irrelevant.
So we're recommending that $1 million of liability, I'm sorry, 100,000 be dropped.
So you're proposing we take I out?
Correct.
Okay.
For the, the smaller carriers. Would not apply to the larger ones. Okay, page 8. Let's see, this is from that page, it's large scale, ground mounted community scale, sub 6. What we have here, this was a consensus item that I believe was missed or needs to be reviewed. But it's basically a requirement that large-scale solar energy shall meet the US EPA requirements as kind of spelled out in just that title. So that's obviously going to refer to to other regulations that they would have to apply to, abide by. So there's that inclusion. I don't believe there's anything else on that page or the next. Let's see. So we decommissioning now, is that right? Yep, all right. So decommissioning begins at the bottom of page 8 on sub F. So everything from this point on is in this part of the chapter is new. And so,
Can I clarify something, Ryan? So it's new in the sense that this wasn't presented at last ordinance committee, but a lot of what you'll see here that's not read and underlined is existing language that we have in the ordinance that we're adding on to.
right. Yeah, that's right. It just has not been acted on. So there is obviously some existing code that we're kind of pulling into it. But it begins basically, it's sort of oriented towards the process of how it would, from beginning to end, that there's either a special exception required, or it's a by right situation, and the administrative officer would be responsible for ensuring that all of these items would get done before a building permit is issued. Let's see, so we kind of spell out what the decommissioning plan shall include the removal of all of these items. That's sub 2, including underground components, et cetera. And then the landowner at the time of decommissioning may request in writing that the existing vegetation that was planted could stay, as well as other things, driveway entrances, security fences, anything left over. Essentially, if the owner wants to keep some of these items, they have a right to make that request. We're just acknowledging that. The sub 3, the final plan shall be certified by a professional engineer. And then the sub 4, we made a few edits into the existing code, which is in black. Let's see. This is including the cost estimate. And then a prohibition on the estimate shall not include offsets for the resale or salvage values of the SES equipment and materials. For sub 5, this is a new addition. Essentially, this is the process for identifying the cost estimate. And this was drawn from, I think, a couple different codes. Which counties again? Is it Jasper?
Yeah, for the decommissioning, we primarily looked at Jasper County and Clinton County, 2 counties that have facilities in the ground.
Right. And so with that, we kind of drew from their language and kind of refashioned it to suit our purposes. But essentially, 2 engineers at the owner's request or at the owner's expense will be engaged, that engineers that the county approves of. And then they have a process by which to make their calculations. And then that document that would then be delivered for community scale. So that sub 5 is for large scale, and then for sub 6, this is for the smaller community scale. And that process is spelled out there in 6. We're now on page 10, sub 7. The applicant property owner shall be required to file surety using form that's in Appendix L, acceptable to the administrative officer. We didn't want to have a mix-up on, this person could do it or this person, just one person. And then the applicant shall ensure that the surety is transferable to any future owner of the SES project. So there would need to be verbiage in there to identify that. And then sub 8 is existing code. Sub 9 requires baseline soil testing, and that is conducted by a certified professional and approved by the AO, and to determine contamination issues. And then, I'm not going to read it verbatim to you, but that's kind of the gist of that one. Sub 10 is concerning demolition permit filing, that basically the checkpoint agency shall be notified of this in advance, and this notice shall contain any agreements with the participating property owners detailing those items that are to remain. That way we have an accounting that, okay, you didn't tear all this stuff out, well, the landowner wanted those items to remain, so that we're all square. So that's 10. 11 is just a little bit of verbiage adjustment here concerning by right matters. And then sub 12, again, just a slight text edit there. The SES system is already a defined term, so having it called large scale was unnecessary. All right, now we have section 6. I believe this was something we identified. This is, you had not taken action on this one, but this is essentially to acknowledge that solar farms are a little different than your average special exception, kind of like wind farms. And so we're sort of granting an extension for the establishment of the use. And so, let's see. So we've got an 18-month time period, and if that solar energy facility is not established within 3 years, then the special exception would be void, I believe is where we're going with that. And then the last part is, for section 7, is essentially just moving some things around. We're removing appendix L1, the breakdown cost for removal of the SES, because we're now building that into the 2 engineers that are going to do it, so there's no reason to have that in there anymore. And then essentially just relabel the subsequent sections. So I think I'll stop and take any questions. We couldn't go back to any of them, but staff's request is that you consider the edits that we've flagged for you and those yellow bubbles, and you know, take action on them if you agree with us, or if you want to amend them in some way. We're welcome to discuss that as well.
And I think we don't have the yellow bubbles on the printed copy, so we're going to want to make sure that we have a specific number of things, so when we go back through, we hit them all. I made 10, if you wouldn't mind confirming that, including some that were completely new, just so we don't omit any. We're seeing yellow on the screen, but not on the hard copy, at least I'm not.
Yeah, we picked.
Yeah, I printed this right off the web. Everybody else has.
Yeah, 10.
Get them off the table. So,
Can I have one question?
go ahead, Jess Jackson.
Ryan, when would you like, I think there are a couple items that just need tweaked for clarification, and it's in regards to the insurance portion of it and surety. When would you like those comments?
Well, yeah, at this point, it's all fair game, so we'd be happy to.
These are simple, very minor corrections.
Okay. Yeah.
I say go.
Go now?
Yep.
So if you'll go to, and my apologies.
Which page are you
at? Page 7.
7.
That'll be easier. F2.
Okay.
It says that insurance with limits of a minimum of $2 million per occurrence and $5 million in the aggregate. Oftentimes, insurance is purchased, the occurrence limit is $1 million, so I think we should add an umbrella or excess policy may be used to satisfy these requirements.
Okay.
Where are we?
Right here.
F7?
F7, F2.
So you just laid out the language you'd like to see included?
Yeah.
Okay.
Why don't you just make a motion and we'll.
Motion to include at the end of, on page 7, F2, an umbrella or excess policy may be used to satisfy these requirements.
And this would occur at the last, add a sentence to the end?
Correct.
Oh, okay.
I second it.
So I have a motion and a second. Any other comments from the board? Questions? All's in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you. And then, well done, by the way, on all of this. I should have started with that. There's a lot of information here. And then on page 10, the bottom of item number 7, it's the wording you added, the applicant or property owner shall ensure such surety is transferable to any future owner of the SES project.
Yep.
I think there might want to be an or added, or new surety bond purchased satisfying the requirements. And the reason for that is oftentimes surety bonds cannot be transferred.
So we'll hear a motion on that, and we'll put that in there.
I move to add on page 10, paragraph, or item 7, after SES project or new surety bond purchase satisfying the requirements.
I second it.
For a motion and a second, any comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that motion carries.
Thank you, that makes sense.
So just so my understanding, so we have, I think, was it 10 bubbles that we will need to address at some time. Either we could, at some point, I want a final document that we can discuss, so we can either do it now or maybe after public input. I'm looking for direction on that.
I have a couple of things I want to chat about, but some of those might be your boxes, so to speak. So I don't know how you want to do this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead, make your.
My first question is on page 1, under the definition of an SES. I'm just curious where the 100 megawatt came from, meaning should we do that without any number there? Meaning should that definition just say an SES shall not include battery energy storage systems?
Period.
Period.
That would certainly capture all of them, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Nathan, do you have any objections? This came out of some research that we had done.
Yeah, we were looking at some different sources, like primarily NREL, the National Renewable Energy Laboratory, about what thresholds qualify as a commercial scale BESS or smaller scale BESS. And basically, since BESS is not a defined term in our ordinance, we're sort of introducing that language here and contemplating that there could be some kind of battery storage system that are part of the solar systems that may not be BESS per se, since we're not necessarily, we're not defining what BESS is yet. That's part of a separate effort we've discussed. So this is just kind of identifying at the certain threshold. Anything above that, we're assuming would be a commercial scale BESS, and I'm open to discussing whether this is appropriate or not.
That's what we're trying to target, is the commercial ones.
Okay, so basically anything 100 or less is considered community.
It would be in service of the solar farm, ostensibly, you know. But potentially could be community.
I think we ought to just take the 100 out. I agree with you, Tom.
So, okay, but is that where you're pulling the 100 megawatt from?
No. So this was put in there with the intention that we would later, after this effort, actually create comprehensive BESS regulations.
Yeah, I think we should just take it out.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
So if you're okay, I'll make a motion that we remove that portion. So in other words,
And I second that.
that section would read, an SES shall not include a battery energy storage system, period.
Just one legal point, just that I want to make sure you're comfortable with. The sentence before that has the very loose legal phrase, including but not limited to. So an SES includes all these things, you know, but could also include, you know, something else. And so what is the not limited to? Could you not see an attorney arguing that my little BESS is part of that?
Well, I think because you have a specific that says shall not include, the prior language is generic and the specific would control.
Oh, okay, maybe I have a misunderstanding. So are you moving to just add the period then after systems?
Yes, that's it.
Oh, okay, then I withdraw my comment.
Yes.
Yeah, that would kill it. Yep.
And just to clarify, we've had 3 motions that have been voted on in the affirmative. We may still have to approve the language around those changes. So as we're going through, while we've made the changes, we're making changes within changes. It's sort of like having 2 motions to amend at the same time. You've got to vote on both of them, so just for clarification. We're going to be voting again on some of those because it's a bigger question than just the specific motion and second we vote. Doesn't change our number 10.
Okay.
That makes sense?
Yeah, not to
Okay,
dwell on that.
I understand now.
But I see up there where it says, any freestanding structure that collects, stores, and distributes. Should we take out the word stores? Which would seem like it would talk about some sort of storage system.
I mean, I would really appreciate perspective from a professional before we do that, because, I mean, we're not scientists and we don't know whether there's any storage capacity component at all on a large-scale solar energy system.
Okay. So we have a motion on the floor and a second. Any more discussion on putting a period after system in an SES shall not include battery energy storage systems? So a motion is second. Any other discussion on that? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So we've made that change. Thank you, Eric. Any other comments? You have something else, Tom?
Yes, on page 3, under Development Standards, item 6, the security fence. It was mentioned to me that the 6-inch continuous clearance from grade could be an issue if it's decided to have livestock on there, and it was suggested instead that it have language including an option for game fence. And don't ask me what game fence is, but it's something apparently that allows smaller critters to enter and exit.
Okay, I think I understand what you're trying to achieve. Let's see. So we do have that welded wire unless the AO approves something different. So that gives them a lot to, pick from with a minimum of 6x6 openings, provides for 6 inch of continuous clearance from grade. So within that 6 inches of space, you want it to be a different material or a different type of barrier, correct?
I'm not sure that I know what game fence is, but I'm assuming that means that it's a type of fencing that allows.
But just within that space, that 6-inch space.
Exactly, because apparently
anything above that could be something else.
Coyotes can get in that 6 inches, which would be
Sure.
detrimental to.
Plenty of animals, if they can get their head in, they're all the way in, yeah.
So are you proposing something else?
I'm proposing that game fence be added as an option.
So my suggestion would be just continue the sentence. It says, provides for 6 inches of continuous clearance from grade, which may include game fencing.
Yeah.
Within the 6-inch clearance.
Yeah. that
Which
does
may
capture it.
include game fencing within the 6-inch clearance.
I can
Would that
shine a
work?
little light on game fencing if
Can
anybody
you?
would. I can. So they typically call it high fencing, and it's for allowing animals in or out. I just looked it up to see the actual width. It's typically 6 inches tall by 2 inches wide. And so that it will not allow coyotes, things of that nature in, or if you're raising deer or whatever the case might be, they cannot escape.
I believe, I agree with that, yeah.
So that's my
So-
suggestion if you want to take it.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to make a motion, we include wording around game
Yeah,
fencing.
Eric just kind of said
Okay,
it. Is
okay,
that-
perfect.
Okay.
So we have a motion and a second coming.
I second it.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion on that? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries.
Okay, my next comment is on page 8, under industrial performance standards. And it looks like on my copy, that may be one you warranted some discussion. Is that correct?
Let's see.
So we didn't have anything on industrial performance standards. I think the shading that you're seeing was just accidentally left there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
There was a comment right above it, though,
Oh,
for
I
the
see what you're saying. The
toxicity
shaded
standard.
phrase, industrial, yeah.
Okay.
That's not a bubble.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Sorry.
it was shared with me that basically the mode of measure foot candles was not an accurate way to measure glare, and that instead the wording, it should just be included that all materials should be anti-glare, something very simple in regard to that.
Right, we obviously were trying to shoot for a measurable standard.
Require anti-glare panels instead of measuring for foot candles. But that may take an expert that's in our room to shed additional light on that one.
No pun intended, right?
Okay.
Okay, so you were just treating that E1?
That would be in regard to E1. It would not affect E2.
Right. So, all right. I guess do we need to repeat that proposed language?
Yeah.
Just want to make sure I get it right.
I mean, it could potentially even be moved up to the previous section, item 6, that they have to meet that certain standard in regard to toxicity characteristic leaching procedure.
So hazardous
and
waste.
For hazardous waste and be
And shall not be.
and shall be anti-glare panels. I don't know if that makes more sense or not.
I would suggest you keep it in the same spot because it's right by the light and the noise. It's kind of topically pretty similar. But you're basically saying to eliminate the foot candles and just say that the materials will be non-glare? Is that the
Require
thought?
anti-glare panels.
Just for some context, this was pulled directly from our industrial performance standards in that section of the ordinance. So that's why we use this language and put it in this subsection.
That's right.
It was pulled from where?
The current UZO. Yeah, in the industrial performance standards section. Yeah, this is the foot candle standard is what we drew from.
So it came from our original ordinance then?
Yes, the current one.
The current one, yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
And that concerns all manner
that-
of glare, not just solar, yeah, so.
I don't know whether you want to do it, but you could do both. Put the foot candles and say all materials used will be non-glare or something similar.
Yeah.
That works too, yeah.
Perhaps just a second
Where'd our
sentence.
foot candles go?
Yeah.
Watch your head back there. Okay.
So you're saying behind 2, you put non-glare, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, perhaps the second sentence.
Okay.
So if you
Underlining
said, at number 1, all components or materials will be non-glare, and glare produced from the SES shall not cause illumination in excess of. Does that get to what you want? Sort of?
Yeah, yes, yeah.
Okay, so all materials, or did I say components?
Panels.
Panels?
Components.
I'd make it more general.
Yeah,
All materials or panels shall be non-glare. Is that a thing?
Anti-glare is the
Well,
word.
anti-glare,
that's
thank
the
you.
phrase.
And any glare produced from the SES shall not cause illumination in excess of.
Perfect.
Is that good enough, Nathan?
Sure.
Sure, no, did you get it down?
I think we got it on the recording, so
All right, so
lock it
that's
down.
That's
7A.
That's my motion.
So that's a motion, and we have a second.
I second it.
So any further discussion on that? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? That motion carries.
And I'm stopping there for now.
Okay, anyone else? I'm just wondering on page 7, if we should address that you suggested that we take out, which would have been FI, take out the $100,000 liability insurance?
Yeah, did you have a question or concern about that?
I was just wondering if we just took that out now.
Oh, take action on it now?
Yeah, take action now.
I understand.
So we have a document that we're working with.
I'll make the motion, we remove section FI.
I second it.
So a motion is second. Any further discussion on that? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Any other comments
Down to 9.
from the commission? Thank you, Ryan. Do you have anything else to add?
To this provision?
Yeah. Just before we move on, any
No,
comments
nope.
on what we reviewed? Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead, you have something else?
I guess on the decommissioning, page 9, number 5, where we're talking about the surety bond amount,
Yes.
I guess it's 5 and 6. My concern is there, based on the initial cost estimate, how do we build in for future value of cost? And I was looking at another county, and they require like 150% surety bond of the amount.
Help me out, but I thought there was an inflation clause in here someplace. I had the
There
same
is.
concern.
Okay. maybe I
Yeah,
missed
there's,
it.
it's supposed to be reevaluated every 5 years to adjust for inflation. That's
Who-
also
who-
language.
Who keeps track of that?
Good question.
I mean, the developer will keep track of it. We'll ensure that they do.
Yeah, right.
That
What he's
doesn't
saying
work
is,
for me.
what he's saying is the plan commission would review that every 5 years?
Right.
What you're
yeah.
saying?
I mean, this is common. We do
Yeah.
this for mining, so.
You say that again, it's common what?
This provision, the 5-year review, I mean, we do this for mining as well, so it's not out of the ordinary that
You
this.
mean you guys take a look at it and request for the updated information? Okay, I thought you were saying something else.
Yeah, no, I mean, we would assist with the enforcement of it on behalf of the plan commissioner, BZA, whichever, so.
So we do have a current way to monitor this and to keep track of it. I think that's what, great.
Right.
But does that need to be made a part of this so that it's clear?
Where's that contained?
Yeah, so the 5-year review is also part of this language. I think, in fact, it was part of the original decommissioning section of this.
Page 10, item 8. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, sorry.
It's pretty harsh. If they don't do it, they lose their special exception.
That's pretty strong.
Okay. Any other comments, questions before we move on?
I have more of a clerical question, I'm sorry.
We'll take those.
Somewhere, where did I see this? The 16-foot height. Can somebody take me to that page?
Yeah.
Is it
Number 2?
page 2?
Yeah. Is that
Is it,
15 to 16?
yeah, is it necessary to have that included twice? Meaning, we have it right under section 3, and then we have it again
Is there a redundancy?
under,
Next page, page 3, out the middle. 4.
yeah, page 3 under development standards on item 4.
Yeah, it is sort of a,
Yeah, the reason why we have that in that separate section is because that's just how the existing ordinance, it mentions that in the previous section as well, so we're just making sure that's amended as well.
Okay.
so no recommended action?
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other comments?
I have a question. if one of these goes in and we have an incident like we had in northern Indiana where it was damaged by hail and it's out of service, and to bring it, who's responsible for the cleanup and the health hazards of the people? Because at the present time, they've not been able to do anything on the, that's in operation up there. And I've been in contact with a few of those people, and it's laying in a field. First responders can't approach it. And so and obviously we know we have hail here. If that's damaged to the point, who's going to be responsible for
Well, I mean,
taking care of
correct me
that?
if I'm wrong, but if the owners, essentially abandon it, they're not, it's out of operation, or it's knocked out, or severely damaged, we could, and they're not willing to clean it up, I think we make a case for kind of calling the bond to do the cleanup, essentially the decommissioning bond, I would argue.
And we're talking about 5 million, and they're talking up there about 17 to 20 million right now. So we're not even covering, if this was a 1,500 acre project, for instance, we don't even have enough money to, and again, our first responders, and being as I was one, I don't like the batteries. I'm just my own personal opinion, but that stuff's dangerous. It kills people.
Yeah, well, I think we took care of it with a fairly definitive
There's no batteries.
statement on the battery issue, Jerry, yeah.
But the cleanup of the panels, which is the other thing, is who's going to take care of that?
Right.
That's just a question.
Is there anything other than the Section 1 definition of abandoned that we are relying on, basically saying any solar system falling into a state of disrepair, which would cover that? You got 1,000 of them, one of them is broken, is that a state of disrepair? Maybe, I don't know, we may want to look at that and make it a little bit, unless there's something else that would define what would be considered in disrepair, substantially in disrepair. I mean, may want to look at that.
Would you put the word damaged in there, or
Well,
severely damaged?
Yeah.
This is the place to target it, though.
Yeah, this is a good place to target it. Repairs shall be made within a certain period of time. I think we could be much more specific.
And I'm sorry, where are you talking about, Eric?
I'm looking at page 1, section 1. It defines abandoned.
Oh, I see, okay.
Okay.
And I apologize if it's in here and I'm missing it, is if it's abandoned, then what happens per this ordinance? If abandoned, it's deemed abandoned. I mean, that's great, but then what happens? You can't call the bond
Yeah.
because it's abandoned. So I think we need to, I'm not suggesting we craft that language right this moment, but I think it's worth looking into.
And I agree, because this
Well,
is in our backyard.
If it's abandoned, then wouldn't be triggering decommissioning to tear
Well,
it down?
Possibly.
And then we could call the bond.
Okay, let's look at that.
I was going to try to make that argument.
Yeah, let's look
Put
at the
that language
decommission.
in there, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, they gave us this pot of money.
Deemed
Let's make sure we
abandoned.
can use it for any scenario.
Yeah, that's a good way to
Severely
look at
damaged,
it.
not repaired as determined by the administrative officer.
Yeah, that would be the place to do it. It triggers the decommissioning, which triggers the surety. That would be good.
Thoughts?
So we have the final phrase in that current sentence, or any solar energy system falling into a state of disrepair for 12 consecutive months shall be deemed abandoned.
What was the language that you just offered, Gary?
Where they talked about disrepair or damaged.
Yeah.
As determined by the AO or something like that?
Within I put the as determined by the AO after 12 consecutive months as determined by the AO. So it gives them some time to do it. And if they don't, then it would trigger the abandon clause. Help us out there, Eric.
Yeah, I think you can just put in, or any solar energy system damaged or falling into a state of disrepair. Is 12 months the right amount of time? That seems long for damaged.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Say it again? Yeah, I understand.
True, but you give the administrative officer some latitude there that they're making efforts, but it's one thing they're making efforts, and it's another
Yeah,
thing they just
that's-
walk away.
Yeah, that's very reasonable, Gary.
Put a little more teeth in there.
But I I think we're covered in the fact that, we're defining abandon on page 1. If you go to page 11, item 12, it says, if an applicant or a property owner fails to meet the requirements set in the decommissioning plan,
Yep.
or
Yep.
if the solar energy system is abandoned, then the surety is in default, and we can use the
Yeah,
proceeds.
I think that ties it in well. That's a good catch.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Because abandon is, if we change it, damaged or falling into a state of repair equals abandonment. Abandonment then triggers the default surety. So that's good.
And so the AO.
So we're going to say that if the system is abandoned, and that would have to be an italicized term, because now we're going to try to bounce back to the definition, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
think
which
it
would
is.
then have this,
Oh, it's
the
not.
damaged clause in there?
Yeah.
Is that where you were headed?
Yeah, solar energy system damaged or falling into a state of disrepair. And then that ties into page 11, paragraph 12. Back to the 12 consecutive months, whether or not that's, the right time, I don't have a particular opinion.
So we'll take a motion to add the word damaged after solar energy systems.
I'll make that.
So we have a motion.
Where,
I second it.
That would be on page 1.
on page
One.
1. Do you need it on page
11.
11 also?
11.
I don't
No.
think so, because
We
this,
do not.
it's deemed
Well,
abandoned.
if you
then
have a
trigger
trigger
that.
that's in abandoned.
Yeah, you just need to make sure that sub 12 is an italicized.
So how should that read, Gary?
Can you clarify the specific subsection that you were referring to add that language again, please?
Section 1, under the definition of abandon, the definition of abandon shall be amended by adding to the following. Right there, under that language, you see that it says, does not generate electricity for a continuous 12-month period or any solar energy system damaged or
Yeah, damaged or.
falling into a state of disrepair.
Perfect, thank you.
So we had a motion to add the word damaged. Did I hear a second?
Damaged or.
So we have a motion and a second, damaged or. Any further discussion on that? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Jerry. Anything else?
Just if you consider the other yellow bubbles when you get to them.
I think we will do.
That'd be my only
Eric
request.
is keeping track of those and
Oh,
we'll
am I?
address it. Yes, sir.
Nathan's keeping track for me.
Okay, so we're
Okay.
both keeping track. Very good. Thank you, Ryan.
Yes, you're welcome.
So next, we said we were going to hear from the steering committee, then county commissioners, and then public input. So if the steering committee has anything they'd like to,
But shouldn't we go through those?
You wanna do those
things
now?
first?
I think that that's fine, because I want to document what we
Yeah.
can talk about.
What'd you say?
He wants to go through the bubbles now,
Oh, yeah.
make the
I mean, it
changes,
seems like
and
we
then we
wanna-
can tweak them again.
Yeah.
So you want to go through them one at a time, or we want to do a,
I would just,
I'd say we go through one
One-
at a
yeah.
time.
Yeah, let's
So
do
we're
one
all
at
sure we
a
have
one
the
at a time.
same list.
good.
I love bubbles. All right. Are we starting at the top?
Yep, let's start at the
Okay.
top and go
You
through
could
real
Go back
quick,
to page 1.
as quick as we can.
So I think they were at occupied structure. And was this a new definition that we added? Or is it an augmentation of one?
Yes, this is a new definition we're adding because we use the term throughout.
Right.
And so that first language under solar energy systems and SES shall not include battery energy storage systems, period, has already been passed.
Correct.
Thank you.
Yes.
The next one is occupied structure, as you said.
Correct. So it's a structure that's, one, used as a residence or intended to be used by members of the public or used on-site by employees for periods greater than 8 hours per week. Trying to establish someone being in a building for a long time.
So help me out here. So we have these bubbles, but is the language on this paper, are we changing that, or is this, you already made the change?
This is a proposed addition, the occupied structure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So these are
that-
things
that
the
entire
staff
thing.
added
Yes, this is
prior-
a staff
prior.
recommended addition.
Okay, so I'm thinking if it's on the paper, are we changing anything that's written on this document that's red? You have the bubbles, you explained them, you went through and explained them, but is there any language we need to change on this, or it's already been changed?
So,
No.
I believe we haven't taken official action
Right.
on some of the bubbles.
I
Right.
think it's just language that was added that wasn't there previously.
Okay.
correct.
Yes,
Okay, so
yes.
my point is, we're working off of this document.
Yes, sir.
And we've made changes to this document. The
Yes.
bubbles, you've already explained,
Right.
so there's no, I mean, at the end, we're going to take action to approve this entire document.
Correct, yes.
Okay.
So the bubbles are the only things that have changed. What's remaining in red, apart from the decommissioning plan, are items that you've already taken care of.
Okay?
The yellow bubbles are the only changes needed.
So
The only ones that we're recommending.
in this
changes for.
particular case, since this was a substantive item that we were adding, we're suggesting this language. So if it's not approved, this will disappear. Definition of occupied structure will disappear.
Okay, so we do need to take action.
Correct.
Take it off this, thank you.
Yes.
That's what I want to do, so we know what we're working, okay. So, then if that's the case, we'll need a motion. If your proposal is occupied structures, I'd like a motion to remove that, and then we'll discuss it and see where it goes.
I'd make a motion.
Okay?
I second it.
If that's what you're proposing.
No.
We're proposing to add this.
Oh, you're adding it?
Yes.
Way back to the
Yes, no,
question.
other way around,
So
yeah.
maybe I'm asking my question wrong.
Yeah, I thought.
Does this document need any changes before we go forward? Even though you have a yellow bubble, the language is at some point.
At some point.
Okay, right now, we have a working document. So we can make a motion that we're going to go forward with this working document with the changes that we've already proposed, but there's nothing else that needs to be added or deleted.
Well, no, I'm saying that there's a few yellow bubbles that we haven't gotten to yet. So do we want
So-
to get to them now or later?
The way I understand it is basically some things were added by staff that haven't been discussed yet. We just need to go through those things, make sure we're okay with it. I don't even know that we need to vote on them individually.
I don't either.
Because we'll be voting on them as a whole with the document.
Yes, yes.
So discuss the ones
We
I
just
guess
need to
we haven't
discuss
discussed.
these.
I thought we discussed them all.
Oh, okay.
Did you,
Well, then you could save it for the final vote if that's the case.
are there bubbles that you did not pull up the little box and tell us about them?
We told you about them all. You just haven't necessarily approved them yet.
That was the 10,
Yes.
that you and I
correct.
agreed there were 10 bubbles,
Yes, correct.
and we have dealt with one of them. We've already voted on that. And that was to make the change to the energy storage systems, period.
No, that wasn't a bubble.
That was not a bubble, I don't have bubbles to look at.
Okay. So,
You also took action on the page 7, the liability insurance.
Okay.
Strike, that was voted on.
Right.
So you have knocked some
I
of
know.
these out.
Right.
Yeah.
so,
I guess I would feel more comfortable just quickly walking through these bubbles to make sure that I've got a grasp of what's been added.
okay,
Yes.
thank you. Okay.
All right. So are you recommending that we take each one and then do a vote?
Exactly.
or-
What you did for occupied structure was perfect.
I'll make did we add occupied structure already?
I don't think we need to. I mean, I don't, it's
don't-
in
we
the
need-
documents when we approve the whole document.
Fair
As long
enough.
as we don't have any changes, I think
All
we're
right, then I'll
good.
just consider it checked off at this point, you know. All right. There's nothing on page 2 or 3. Page 4 was just the addition of the chart, so unless there's no objections, we'll let that.
So something small about this. We're offering the chart as a replacement to the text that follows or in addition to it, right? So that's
It's
something.
consistent with the written language.
It's consistent with the written language, but if we take the chart and replace the text, it makes this amendment shorter, or this section of the ordinance shorter. That was the benefit of the chart.
And so you would like to know whether you want it in addition to or in lieu of?
Correct.
Seems like having both's an advantage.
In addition.
but-
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I agree.
Okay, we'll keep it all. All right,
But keep it all, add the chart.
Yes, adding the chart. Okay, the next one, sub 8. Is this, what have we got here? Is this the waiver?
D is in dog on page 5.
No, it's page 4, 8,
Page
sub
4, it's up on the
A.
screen right now, the yellow bubble on the word accept. But this is concerning the waiver, right?
The large-scale SES project boundaries shall be entirely contiguous. We are proposing to add, except where divided by public right-of-way.
Oh, it's the one before, I'm sorry, yeah.
But that language has already been added.
already on there.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Right, okay.
It's already on here.
That's good.
But we're just explaining why it was added. Okay.
Okay, now we're on page 5. This is the recorded agreement issue. Yeah, go up to sub D. Get your mouse onto sub D there, on the word unless. Yeah. So
this is
either you do the buffer yard, the developer has the idea or has the option to trigger a much larger setback or add the buffer yard, whichever makes the most sense to them. And this was something that had been discussed and supported by the various study committee members, as a concept, and so we tried to fashion it into something that's enforceable.
So while he's thinking, what I'd like to do when we get done is take a motion to approve this document as written with the exception of the items we've edited, which were 3 or 4, and hopefully you have track of those.
Yep.
And we'll hear those. Okay, continue, right.
Yep, all right, so, and then there's another one on the word property. What is that one? If you could hover over that. This is why we write these things down. That's right.
So replacing property line with occupied structure is where the setback is based from. That's what we're proposing. Which is, this would require a change to the language that's on the page. The language that's on the page is what we're recommending a change of.
Okay, so this is what was approved originally last time.
Correct.
Yeah.
So you'll need, I think you do need to make a motion.
We'll need a motion here.
Yeah.
But instead of property lines, occupied structure.
So you want,
So if they choose option 2, the large setback, it would be from the occupied structure.
all right.
So you're saying we need a motion to edit this? Okay, would someone make that, please?
So I believe the motion would be on page 5, D is in dog, small I, 2 I's. We're going to substitute the words property lines, delete property lines, and add occupied structure in place.
So moved.
Yeah.
Is that your understanding of the recommendation?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, if you agree.
Okay.
And why is staff making this recommendation? I mean, where did this,
Right, well, the objective is to try to, provide a distance from, the main situation that's potentially be offended is the occupied building. And so that's the goal.
So if I can add to this, the intent of a buffer yard is screening, right? And so visual screening, what we're most concerned with is an occupied structure, the view of outside of someone's house. So if we're basing a setback off of the property line, which is potentially far from the house, we're talking about an extreme setback. For the rest of the setbacks that we proposed a setback from the occupied structure and a smaller setback from the property line. So this would make this more consistent with our other recommendations.
Right. Brian, I got a question. So you're taking away from the owner the opportunity to have 1,000 feet away from his property line? Is that what you're telling me? And if he doesn't have a building there, then he's in trouble because it's going to set right on his property, or it's only going to be a short distance.
He still has the choice to do the buffer yard.
So,
Yeah, I disagree with that. I like the 1,000 feet setback period. That's my choice. And I oppose changing it to structure.
Okay.
I mean, my personal, I would
Yeah.
want 1,000 feet.
Yeah, leave it as written is what you're saying, Jerry.
Yes, I think we'll leave it as written.
I'll second that.
So,
got a motion already.
so we have a
You don't have
motion
a
to what?
second.
You can either withdraw the motion that's there, the motion is to change the language from property lines to occupied structure.
Right, so you-
You got a motion and a second, I believe, so.
No.
There was no
No.
second.
No second? Well,
No
there you
second.
go.
There's no
Yeah.
Is
was
there a
no
second
second.
then?
No.
Okay.
No.
Is there a second? Hearing none, the motion fails. So we can
Stays.
discuss that
Yeah.
later.
So it
Yeah, if
just
you take
stays.
no action, nothing changes.
Just stays.
So we'll
Right.
address that later. Okay, next, please.
So we're going to leave it at 1,000,
Edit-
right?
Yeah, we're going to
Okay.
leave it
Yeah,
as
property
written.
line.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Okay, next page. The preliminary road use agreement inclusion. So this is at the time of application. Next page, please. There we go. This is C1B. Fairly simple addition. Essentially the first draft of a road use agreement for scrutiny.
Which one is that?
All right.
C1B.
In the middle.
C1. Okay.
Okay, so that's already been added. The language is correct in here.
This needs to be added if there's support for it.
no, but yeah, when,
It's in the document already.
It's on your
Yes.
sheet.
If it's on the paper,
It's on
then
the
no
paper,
action's
yeah.
taken.
I think I'm
Okay.
finally with you now, Gary.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
All right.
Okay, next one, please.
All right, 7, we took action on those.
On 7, we did remove FI.
Yes, yeah,
Okay.
you already voted on that.
Yep.
And then for F2, you already voted on Jackson's.
Right,
addition.
language for,
Yeah, so that's done.
okay?
Page 8, again, so this is sub 6, the addition of the toxicity characteristics procedure comment there. One more box for them to check. And then, moving on, we did talk about Tom's glare requests, and that's taken care of.
We voted. 7-0.
That's on end of page 8. Then decommissioning begins at the end of page 8. Again, this is all the new material, and I don't believe we had anything. We had Jackson's edit on sub 7 on page 10. That's been taken care of. And then on page 11, I think we also took care of the abandoned matter. I think we'll make sure that the word abandoned is capitalized and italicized, so it's referencing the definition that we've changed.
Okay.
And then section 6, the last part is the establishment clause for uses, and that if the use is not 3 years from the date of the special exception was granted, if it is not established, then that special exception is void.
Okay,
So
so we've gone through that.
that's everything.
Thank you. Now I would take a motion to approve this document, just moving forward, that we're going to work on with what's on the paper, plus the edits that we made, that we just talked about?
So moved.
I'll second it.
So I have a motion and a second. Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, I mean, we're probably going to go through this, yeah. Okay. So I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. So now we have a working document.
Yes, now you have a deck of cards.
Very good. So next, if there's nothing else, we're going to move on to hear the steering committee's comments, if we can address specifically the items that you may take issue with in this document or propose changes. So if anybody would like to come forward and start that.
I'm assuming you're referencing the citizens group? that
Yes,
was
the
had input.
citizens groups.
Okay,
yeah,
thank you.
seriously.
Okay, thank you.
And I think we're on a 3-minute.
Thank you.
You said 5 originally, so you're going to...
That was a different committee.
I'll keep it brief.
Committee.
This is going to be brief.
Okay, thank you.
I'm giving you my handouts. A team of 3 of us put together a very thorough and complete document. Jackson, it had all kinds of detail in it about how the surety needs to be structured and how it needs to be transferred. Vicki, it had a lot of the same points and questions you were asking about. Eric, it had the additional detail in there to talk about the assurances that you talked about and asked about. Jerry, it did have sections in it around emergency response and how we handle acts of God. The original document that we gave to them, that we put together and worked hours over, had all that and more. What you see in front of you is a piece of Swiss cheese. I'm sorry, but I'm disappointed, I'm discouraged, and very much frustrated that the decommissioning document you have in front of you is a hollow shell of what the community team put together to be a very thorough, comprehensive, full life cycle effort to ensure that the county, that property owners, that adjacent property owners, that the environment and our county infrastructure are not put at risk by this type of project throughout its entire life cycle and through the restoration and recovery into whatever next purpose that ground is going to have when this thing gets pulled out. But all that was carved out in so many different ways, I can't even begin to start with what's missing. But many of your questions had very thorough detail around them. Some of that is outlined in the documents here. Here's what I would propose really needs to happen. The decommissioning plan section that was proposed for you tonight, I propose you rip it out and replace it with the original submission that was put together by 3 very hardworking members of this community to try to put a thorough and complete document together that not only protects the county, but draws upon the painful experiences and concerns that many other counties have and their learning points that we drew from in the document that we conceived. That document is not before you tonight. It was edited away to a piece of Swiss cheese. I looked tonight, how could we even begin to try to edit in what needs to be fixed on this? I'm sorry, but I think the better idea would be to pull this out and start over, beginning with the submitted document from that citizens team of 3 and start your editing from there. It would be time better served and purpose better served in terms of the content. Much of the content are questions that you ask about tonight where there is insufficient detail, there's insufficient process, there's insufficient county oversight and primacy to ensure that the county is not going to be put in a position of having to pick up the tab. And we've seen this with other land uses before. This is an LLC. There is no ongoing entity. It will change hands. The county must remain in a position of primacy from both financial liability and we've got to protect the property owners in this county.
Very good, thank you. Any other comments from?
Mr. Chairman, can I ask you a quick question?
Sure, go ahead, Jerry.
Yeah, I have a question. Why was none of this ever presented to us? Or we never, I mean, it was evidently given to the APC staff, and we never seen anything like this. And here we struggling to ask some questions for this, and it kind of covers some of, I don't know, are we kind of seems like I'm left in a closet somewhere.
I don't know, Jerry.
Well, what I'm saying is that we're filling in some of these. We struggle to fill some of this in, and all this stuff was kind of available to us, and y'all didn't recognize any of this, or we didn't recognize any. I never, this is my first time. I'm just a little confused.
Are you referring to the proposed amendment in front of you, Jerry?
Yes, I mean,
Okay.
it seems like some of this stuff would have been taken care of with, we killed an hour up here, or 30 minutes filling in. Some of the stuff was already presented, and here we are changing it, and it's already recommended to be changed, recommended to you or somebody to be changed before it ever got to us. I guess that's my confusion, I'm sorry.
I think we addressed that maybe at the last ordinance committee meeting. We
Okay,
went
and
thing
I
that,
wasn't here,
and you
yeah.
weren't there.
Okay,
So we
thank
did
you.
talk about that, and
All
we
right.
can address that again at the end.
Okay, thank you.
So,
All right, sorry, I
You're
was not
fine.
here.
next, please.
Good evening, Catherine Sobrowski. I'll be quick on things for you. First, as to the question of how much made it to you versus what was discussed in the committee, I think the really simple answer is that the committee ran out of time. I think that this was a much bigger project than anybody anticipated, and we really didn't get to drafting language or discussing potential language until the last 2 meetings in the last month. And so had there been more time, there might have been, more thorough information passed through. But I think that was a struggle for everyone. Staff tried to pull it together, committee members tried, and it just was a really hard project.
I understand it. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so then going into the text of the ordinance you have before you tonight, I would sort of argue that the battery energy storage issue should be moved from a definition into the actual text of the ordinance, just because legally speaking, I'm concerned about whether the definition section is the right place to ban something. So maybe you put it in the development standards. That's just a technical thing. Then moving to the setbacks where you have it written out in text, there's a typo in there. It's on page 5, sub 5. If the SES is within 200 feet of 3 property lines, it should say 4. You have 2 paragraphs in a row that talk about homes surrounded by 3 sides, but sub 5 should be for 4 property lines. Then a technical issue that was sort of within my realm of expertise as a member on the committee. We talked a lot about the power purchase agreement or the build transfer operate agreement, which is a huge point of contention at the BZA hearing about a prior project that the county dealt with. I did a lot of research on this issue because I understood the developer's perspective that it was hard for them to get a contract for somebody to buy power from them before they had any permission from the community to build the project. And so the compromise position that I intended to be put forward in the draft was to say, when somebody applies for their special exception, they can have a generator interconnection agreement or a PPA or some other document. But when they do get to applying for their improvement location permit, they should be mandated to have the power purchase agreement or the build transfer agreement or the document that shows they have the fixed off-taker. And this really goes back to the original drafting intent that Rabita and Sally discussed when they worked on the ordinance the first time around. The conversation around requiring a power purchase agreement or the off-taker contract was that you don't want to do speculative permitting surrounding projects this large and controversial. And so I think if you sort of make a compromise with the developer and you say, okay, we understand when you come for a special exception, it's still very early for you, so we'll give you more time to get that final contract in place. But once we've given you a special exception and you're coming back for your ILP, we really want to see that that contract is in place so that we're not issuing a speculative construction permit. So I would urge that that issue be sort of squared up. And if you want to know specifically where it is, it's page 7, section D. That's the portion that applies to improvement location permit. So I would recommend that you make it mandatory at that point that they have a PPA.
Okay. Thank you. Tell me that page again. Did you say page 7?
Page 7, sub D is
D.
the, yeah.
D, I'm sorry.
D as in dog.
Gotcha. Next, please.
Gary,
Yes.
quick question. If staff agrees that we have a typo, should we make that adjustment now so that we still have a working document?
Yeah. Do you agree with that there's a typo there?
Yes.
Okay.
And to confirm, that's items 8.4 and 8.5 on page 5?
So I think there was only one typo, sub 5.
Okay, so,
Change to the.
so there's only one typo. It's item number 5 on page 5.
Correct.
And what would that correction be?
From 3 property lines to 4.
Okay,
I'll make that motion.
so a motion
I second
and
it.
a second to change the word 3 to 4.
Isn't there one in 4 also?
So it's a graduated setback, so each line item is you have 1 property line, 2 property lines, 3 property lines, 4
Okay.
property lines.
Okay.
Yeah, we intended it
I
to be
understand.
4.
8B, Roman. Yeah, 8B, Roman numeral 5, got it. So from 3 to 4, have a motion in a second. Did I hear that one? Okay, so a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All's in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. So we corrected that. Thank you, Jackson. Okay.
Hey, my name is Mike Day, and I don't know where the 6,000 acres came from, but I'd like to talk about it a little bit. I looked up the size of West Lafayette city limits, and it's 8,700. So this is 70% of West Lafayette. That's an egregious amount. I would highly encourage you to go way down, because, you know, if it comes in at 5,999, you know, that's terrible. I would like you to go and even cap it. You know, to me, 2,000 is the largest you would ever want around here. You know, please consider relooking at the numbers. This just doesn't make any sense for anybody that lives around here and wants and believes in farmland. Okay? Thank you.
Very good, thank you.
Are we done with the study committee members' comments? I wanted to
Well,
make sure.
Good point.
Yeah, I don't think so, but thank you. Study
Yeah,
committee members.
didn't want to
One
forget
last
you.
one.
No, well, yeah,
Sorry,
thank you.
sorry. At Joseph Borowski, also on the study group. To clarify on the glare, there is a state-level solar model ordinance that has some language with respect to that. But I would also encourage that an actual tool, an actual analysis, a glare analysis be included to be required, as well as a mechanism for some sort of remedy in case there is glare or a noise violation. That way people can know within 30 days something will be taken care of. So adding that into the glare provision to include a study and include a provision that allows someone to have a remedy if there is a problem, right? Obviously working in tandem with the AO. Other things here, property line, or distance from property line is, or setbacks from property line is not outrageous. Over 25 counties do it. One thing to note is we have a 100-foot setback versus we used to have 50. Now, the average of all counties in Indiana is almost 450 feet. So we're well below that still. Now, we had to recall why we started this study committee. It's not because, you know, hey, we wanted to go through this ordinance stuff. I don't enjoy looking at ordinances. Was because we had a project come in that we felt had a lot of negative impacts on folks that lived around it, right? And that is why we paused and we had these entire ordinance revisions. So looking at these 50-foot increase in setbacks, right? A noise limit that they pretty much met except for a few homes, right? There's not even a setback well enough for the actual huge substation that they were going to put in and sandwich folks in. So those were the things people care about, and those are the things I think you need to revisit and increase, at least hit the average, okay? If you have any questions with respect to glare or the setbacks or anything like that, I'll be right out here.
Okay, thank you. Study committee members. Anyone else from that? So next, we were going to hear. Rabita, please. And then we're going to hear from the county commissioners.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Robita Rajkarnikar. This is bringing a lot of nostalgic feelings. It's great to see everyone. I will make this very short too. I have only one comment. It's on page 8. It's regarding construction operation hours. Something like that typically is in the municipal ordinance, not necessarily in the zoning ordinance, because there might be situations when that hour needs to be adjusted during construction. So in terms of operation, it might be better to move that away from the zoning ordinance and move it to a county ordinance if there's one. And I don't know if there's one, but that might be a better use in terms of enforcement of that operation hour.
This could be varied, by the way. So with variance.
So
Something-
currently it's 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., is that the one you're talking about?
That is the one I'm talking about. And I have no issues with the time. Honestly, that's absolutely fine. But in terms of a technical ability to implement that, it might be an issue having it in a zoning ordinance.
Okay.
No, thank
Okay,
you.
thank you. Any other steering committee members, please come forward.
I think I might be the last one.
Okay.
All right. I know Catherine just talked about the 6,000 acres and.
Name, please.
Oh, Zachariah Martinez, Emerging Solar Energy, sorry. I would like to highly consider making the acreage a little bit, making it smaller. You guys haven't seen this. I know that I've submitted it, but earlier today.
And then get back to the microphone there so you can be on the
Earlier
record.
today, I designed a 119 megawatt solar array that doesn't incorporate trackers. That's ground mount, fixed tilt. Two solar panels stacked on top of each other within that 16 feet threshold. And 400 acres alone can fit 119 megawatts. That's a lot. That's roughly 153 million kilowatt hours per year. So, that being said, I wouldn't rule out 400 acres or especially with the ruling seeming like it wants to be contiguous. I would recommend starting smaller, getting that right the first time, and then maybe pushing it later. So
what is your proposal and what are we proposing now?
I'm proposing that the 400 acre cap be reconsidered.
And what is it now?
Say again?
6,000.
It's unregulated by
Countywide.
project,
So we don't have a project standard in place,
Negative.
just a grand total.
grand total, okay.
So that design there, that's with a 250-foot setback. So if you have I'll play devil's advocate, if you have 400 or 500-foot setback, making a solar project continuous might be a little bit difficult. In some areas, it just depends on who's signing the lease and what landowners are involved, but yeah, that's my recommendation.
Okay, very
Thank you.
good.
And, I'm sorry, Zachariah, do you mind if I ask you a couple questions in regard to development standards? You know, I know you had put together a document, or you had helped put together a document in regard to environmental design standards. And do you think, I'm just asking for your input in regard to the language as it reads. Do you think it's sufficient there?
What part are you referring to, as in the whole document, or?
Is there anything in the document that you prepared that you think we should consider adding as far as the development standards?
As of now, no.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Zachary, I got a question. You were talking about the total. So if they used 6,000 total acres and put a project of 400 acres max, would that be something that you would be acceptable? I'm just asking a question.
Say that one more time?
The county wants 6,000 total acres.
Just in the ordinance itself.
But if you put a project that could not be any larger than 400 acres, would that be an acceptable and still keep the 6,000? Or 600 acres or whatever?
I'm a proponent of if you're gonna build something, build it, do the crawl, walk, run phase.
I didn't know if you studied that, that's why I was asking.
So I wouldn't recommend, well, if you're gonna approve a 6,000 acre project, someone's gonna come in and try to, or 6,000 acre ordinance, someone's gonna try to come in and apply for that. So I guess my opinion really doesn't matter at that point. Does that make sense?
All right.
I mean, I would just recommend 400.
Okay.
400 acres to start. 400 to 600 acres would probably be.
Per project.
Per project, okay.
Got it.
Yep.
All right.
Very good.
So.
Any other comments? Any other steering committee members? Otherwise, we'll move on to county commissioners talking. And while they're coming forward, I might talk about how plan commissions work, ordinances work, and all this we do here is pretty much laid out by state law, the stuff we have to do. And included in that state law is that the elected body, the legislative bodies can write their own ordinance. We can make all the recommendations we want and send it forward, and they can send back what they want, and it pretty much gets approved. We can give them input, but in the end, they have the final say on what's approved and can actually write it. So just with that in mind as we hear from the commissioners.
Thank you, and that is a great launch point, because that's something that we take very, very serious. And I want to begin by thanking all of you for your work, not only this evening, but at the last meeting, and staff for their work, and the committee. I know that there's a lot more to be done, but I won't fault the work, because I know everybody had the best intention. I know that there's an old saying, you have to be able to crawl before you walk, walk before you run, and run before you sprint. And sometimes this feels like it's been a little bit of a sprint. But I think we can still get this to something that's usable, that protects everybody. I too noted that I like the cap on the amount of acreage countywide, because that is a huge protection. I won't quibble about what that number is. There are people in this room that are a lot smarter than me that can come up with something that makes sense. Maybe it's 6,000, maybe it's less. I don't know, but we hadn't until just a few minutes ago. I don't know how much folks had considered the possibility of placing a cap on a project. Not knowing what the future holds of these large-scale projects. 17 acres out of our county is a big chunk, and you can bet that the next project may be potentially more than that, and it may not take long to get to 6,000 acres total. And back to the analogy about, walk, run, sprint, it makes sense to cap a project at 400 acres. Not only cap it, but also put a distance between projects so that you have a buffer. And if it works and it stands on its own merit, then fine. We've got something that's spread out in the county in a lot of different areas, and something that is usable. What we have seen in counties around us is a rush to put a big system up, and what you end up with is a lot of unhappy citizens and a lot of unhappy elected officials because they didn't get it right the first time. And that's what's the most important. We have some time to work within our schedule right now. Setbacks are a huge issue too. And I think what I heard earlier was a suggestion that setbacks be moved to 1,000 feet in some instances. And I've questioned a little bit this difference between occupied structure and property line. If we really want to protect a property owner who is going to have their property maybe for the rest of their lives, or give it to their children, they are going to want to do other things with that property from time to time. And I think, to me, it makes more sense that we give as much deference to those setbacks as we possibly can. And it makes great sense to have that set to the property line as opposed to the actual occupied dwelling. And one of the suggestions that's been made, and just something for you to ponder if you want to jot down some notes, is 50 feet from a public right-of-way, 500 feet from a non-participating property that has a project on one side, 700 from a non-participating property with two sides impacted, and then going to 1,000 yards if you had three sides impacted. And then I'm going to use a term that's not in our ordinance, but I've seen it in various ordinances throughout the state, and it's a statement basically that refers to non-enclosure, meaning under no circumstances can you have a property of a non-participating owner enclosed all the way around. So I throw those out there for discussion. The one thing that I know is we've all been inundated with emails and phone calls and have reviewed just volumes of information. I thank everybody who's reached out to do that, to educate not only the committee, but the county commissioners and anybody else involved in the process. So I'll answer any questions, but that's all I have.
Thank you, Tracy. I want to review kind of what you said. And you talked about the 6,000 acre cap for the county and proposed, and maybe I'll call you back up to give us a final recommendation to consider.
Okay.
Maybe David will give us one, but you also said a 400 acre cap, setback at 50 feet from right-of-way, public
Yes.
right-of-way, 500 feet from a non-participating 700 feet with 2 sides, 1,000 feet on 3 sides, and did you say something about you can only be covered on 2 sides?
Only 3 sides, no enclosure. You
No
couldn't have a
enclosure, only 3
project
sides.
around somebody's place
Okay.
for all 4 sides.
Did I miss anything there?
Nope, that's everything. Thank you.
Go ahead.
I think you also spoke about capping the specific project.
No, the acreage.
400 acre cap.
And
Yeah.
then a mile separation.
And
Did
a
you get
1 mile
that?
separation.
1
between-
mile.
One mile
separation.
okay.
And those would need to be separate petitions to separate projects,
Okay,
so that somebody couldn't come in and stack them together.
very good. Okay. David?
I don't know, that 1,000 yards he threw in there sound pretty good.
Well, I wonder if that was a misspeak. Was that?
I figured, well, feet, yards, okay, we'll play the game or whatever.
I'm assuming, let's correct that. I'm assuming Tracy meant 1,000 feet instead of
did,
1,000.
he did.
I know he's a
Whatever.
football guy, but.
Right. It's the old coach in him, it's just
Yeah.
run the ball,
That's right.
guys, whatever. I think the same thing, really, what Tracy basically said, I think 6,000's max throughout the county. You get on the plat books and you start trying to look at them and see potentially where these could go. 6,000 max sounds perfect. I also totally agree at 400 max on a single project, and that's perimeter to perimeter. So setbacks count part of that 400 acres. It's not 400 solars, it's 400 whatever else. So the whole footprint is 400 acres per that project. Mile separation. As the bird flies, however you want to go, on that part of it. So I agree on all that. I think the occupied structure needs to be struck. If I owned a little 10-acre patch and I've had this patch, and all of a sudden they're building these solars around me, or I bought that dream place, eventually put a house on, and now all of a sudden, oh well. So I do think it needs to be from property line back on that part of it. I was a little disheartened on some of the committee members and one of the letters we got about ground's just ground. It doesn't matter where it's A or double A, it's just ground. I just totally disagree with that. Obviously, they don't know what farm ground truly is. And so in my opinion, I like that the double A, hopefully it's still in there, that, it has to be a special exception. I know they can come before the commissioners or which board to try and get that changed, but by gosh, it's another hurdle the way I look at it. I'll be honest, from the get-go, I'm against it. But I'm willing to work with it. Who knows? We've heard 400 acres will kill a project. Nobody will do it. Panels change. Panels may get better. They may be able to absorb 4 times the power. So a 400-acre facility might be equal to a 1,000-acre facility down the road. Technology is always changing. So I think this is a very good compromise. Honestly, as I said, I just soon see none of them. But I think it's a compromise. And to think I'm against solar, no. I'm actually looking at tearing a barn down and putting solar on it. I'm looking at it. But these are what we feel comfortable about.
Don't go away yet, clarifications. On the property line, did we actually leave that
I
alone?
think it
or
was
do we
bubble
need-
number 2 that I was going to say.
Yes, we did.
Yeah,
So is it acceptable? Would somebody find that for me? And-
Yeah, it's page 5D2. I think we left it the way you're stating, right?
Yeah, but bubble 2 on the first page said occupied structure also.
The bubble said occupied structure, that was a recommendation to
Okay.
change it to, we did not change it to occupied structure.
Okay.
So it's 1,000 feet from non-participating property
Yeah, they
lines.
took no action on that.
There was a proposal to change it, and we did
That's
not
on-
change it.
That's on, 500 feet if it's on one side, 700 feet if it's on 2 sides, 1,000 feet if it's on 3 sides. So that's not a 500 here, 700 feet, 1,000 there. If they're getting 3 sides, 1,000, 1,000, 1,000.
I think that's the way it's written.
Yeah.
On
So-
5D double I.
I think
No,
you're
no.
talking about 2 different things.
Okay.
So I think we left it the way you wanted it, meaning that in regard to the waiver of a buffer yard, that unless waived by a non-participating property owner by recorded agreement, for all non-participating properties improved by an occupied structure, one of the following standards must be met, and that is the second option: all panels, mounting devices, inverters, and transformers shall be set back 1,000 feet from all non-participating property lines.
Right.
That's the way we...
And I think maybe if you want to throw a clause in there that by consent of a non-participating landowner, and they're like, you know what, you can come closer, as long as there's a thing called good neighbors out there. They do it with the wind turbines. You may not want it, but you get paid not to use your field to be a good neighbor. Maybe the same thing can be there also, where a non-participating landowner, and they knock up and say, Mr. John Aid, and they came up and said, hey, we're going to give you $200,000 or whatever if you can move this in. They have that option.
Isn't that covered under participating landowners?
Hopefully that is.
Yeah, so I think we got that covered. Okay.
Anything else? Thank you for
Any
all the
other
work you're all
questions?
doing.
No,
I really
thank
do
you,
appreciate it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Tom, you have any comments?
What was proposed, in regard to the four sides, it seems like we're going to have to define that fourth side, meaning if we say it can't be enclosed by four sides, don't we have to define what that, could it be a mile away? Could it be on the fourth side? I think there has to be some definition for that fourth side.
So I agree with what Tom is saying. Since we're moving away from adjacent properties, basing this on adjacent properties and basing it on non-participating properties, which is with any parcel within 2 parcels or 200 feet, I think that that's where that makes sense. And especially if it's separated by a roadway, like if there's a roadway on that fourth property and you have a facility on the other side of the roadway, is that where the four sides applies or no?
Ignore the roadways.
Yeah.
Roadways have no impact.
So I think there has to be, I think we would have, if we're going to do, the way the ordinance is proposed is there's a number for the fourth side, and I think we're going to have a number on that fourth side. It can't just be no.
If it's non-participating, would it be fair to say we have 1,000 feet already?
Well, that's the same as 3 sides.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if we're going to those numbers, I think it would have to be something greater than 1,000, but 1,000 feet is pretty significant.
Yeah. So you're saying 3 sides 1,000 and the 4 side more than that? Is that what you said?
Well, all I'm saying is, if you have a piece of property and you have solar panels on 3 sides, that means there never, for all of eternity, be any solar over here. What if they have hundreds of acres over here? That means at some point they've got to be able to put panels on. You can't just leave it, there can never be on the fourth side. But it could be 2,000 feet, it could be,
Okay, let's see. I understand, yeah.
It could be something excessive, but if it just can't be
Open.
open.
So 1,000, so we had a proposal of 1,000 feet on 3 sides, and I guess give us a number for 4 sides.
I may rely on Tracy.
Okay, there we go. On 3 sides, and
1,500.
Yards.
thank you. Maybe he said that before. So 15 sides. Okay, anything else, Tom?
No.
Now, I'm going to throw this out there for consideration. Should we incorporate, I'm kind of leaning that we incorporate the proposals made by the commissioners into this, just so we have a document that we can talk about, and we can tweak from that if needed, or as necessary.
I agree with you, Mr. Chairman, that all of those, all the information we got was very good, and I think that would be exciting. I would make a motion to that.
Okay, so we do have a motion to incorporate. If we get a second, we'll talk about it.
Yeah, I'll second.
Okay, so we have a motion second, and I'll read through those, but any other comments on doing that? And then we'll talk about what they are.
Go ahead.
So what I have is to incorporate 6,000 foot, 6,000 acres cap for the county on,
That's already in.
That's already in
it's
there.
already in there, 400 acres cap per project with 1 mile separation. Setbacks would include 50 foot from a right-of-way, 500 feet. What was that?
500 from one property line?
One property line. How does that combine, that would be from participating?
Non-participating.
Okay, on one side. 700 feet for two sides, 1,000 foot for three sides, and 1,500 for four sides. Now, is that for each side or just the fourth side?
All sides.
All sides, got it. So help me understand, how does that blend in with the, on page 5, all panel mounting devices, inverters, transformers be set back from 1,000 feet from non-participating? Doesn't that override or?
What specific, sorry.
No, you go
What
ahead.
specifically are you referring to?
The setbacks we just talked about, and then the setback that's in, all panels will be 1,000 feet from non-participating. That's on page 5.
D as in dog, small I, double I.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so that's 1,000 feet.
Oh, the buffer yard?
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, the proposed changes are going to have a ripple effect on everything that we've proposed, so we're going to have to go back through and
So are we
rationalize
reducing the
this.
setbacks then?
Do what?
Are we reducing setbacks?
No, we're increasing.
We're
No.
increasing, okay. I got you now, because that's a buffer yard, okay.
Yeah.
So we're increasing, so I'll continue on. I think that was it. Were there any other suggestions that they had? Proposals? So we have a motion and a second to include those in the document or the proposed ordinance.
I have one comment or question before. So item 2 of D2, and I understand we talked about setbacks, but I do believe it comes through. Do we need to push back? Page 5. We spoke about the D2, the 1,000 feet from all non-participating property lines. Does that need to be changed to 1,500 to mirror 4 or no?
Well, I confused that. If you read I, it's those are setbacks from, if you use a type A buffer yard.
Thank you. I removed my question.
Yeah. So I had the same confusion. Yeah, so we have a second. Any other additions to that? Clarifications? Hearing none, all those in favor, you have something, Eric?
Well, the only thing I was going to suggest is these are concepts, and they're fairly clear, but they're also going to have to be worked into a document that could have unintended or unknown consequences at this moment. So my suggestion would be, and that the document be modified in order to put those in place, because there may be some tweaks that need to be done. And so I think that ought to be something that the staff works on. Would you agree with me on that?
Yeah, I think that we'd have to go through this with a fine-tooth comb so that we're ready for April APC. So that's what we would do.
So all that you said, and in addition, the remaining document.
And at that meeting, we can point out
Absolutely.
where we made those
Yeah.
changes.
But make modifications as necessary to make the document.
Then the APC is free to make
cohesive.
additional changes.
You agree with the added language there?
I do.
Okay, so,
Go ahead, I have one other item that I want to come back to, but let's get this one.
all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Jackson, what else?
We've spoken about reflective glare a couple times, or glare. reflectance value is what a quick search has told me, and I'm wondering if we put things like anti-glare. Anti-glare does not mean, or I don't believe it means, no glare. And so is there a value or a number that we should investigate? And it doesn't have to be decided today. I don't want to keep this from moving to where it is, but is there a value, a percentage, there are tools to measure this that we should add so that it is clear what we're wanting from a amount of glare?
Is there some in the ordinance? Yeah, there's .5 foot candles.
So, but that's the amount light coming down, not bouncing off.
No, that's the glare. Glare, measuring the glare at .5.
Okay.
So we have a standard in there.
Okay.
As long as that makes sense from scientific.
I have no idea. So if you have clarification for us, please.
So glare, typically that's in reference to what's beneath the solar array, and that was to deter people from putting glass underneath the solar array for bifacial modules to get more production on the back end. I've never considered glare in any of my projects, so I don't think glare is a problem.
Okay.
Unless there's a target that, like, has to be within a certain, like, let's say 5,000 feet within the ground or the surface or something like that, so.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anything else? Okay, so I think we have a working document with some changes to it. And now we will go to public input. Please.
How convenient.
Yes, just timing is perfect.
First of all, I'd like to say that I am not a property owner that's adjacent to any proposed farms,
Name, sir.
but
Yeah, I'm sorry, name and-
I share the sentiment of
Name and
those-
address.
Pardon me?
Please just give us your name and address for the record.
My name's Larry Anderson, and I'm 5311 Linwood Drive, West Lafayette. But I share the sentiments of the property owners that do live adjacent to these proposed farms. And I'm certainly sympathetic to them, as I would think most everybody would be if they were going to be adjacent to one of these farms. So it's easy to understand what they're asking for, and like I said, I'm sympathetic, and I hope they get what they want. But I did have a couple concerns that were raised in the proposed document. And one is, what is the fail-safe plan for the end of the project? So I understand there'll be sureties, and those will be updated every 5 years. But in my experience in personal life and in business, these estimates are rarely accurate. So at the end of the day, when the surety is perhaps not enough, who's going to pay to finish that process? And that's a concern, and I wonder how it's going to be addressed. Another concern I have is the definition of disrepair. Disrepair can mean many things to many people, and at what point does disrepair become abandonment? Is it when 20% of the panels are no longer working? Is it 30%? Is it 40%? It certainly isn't if just one or two panels are bad, but there needs to be some sort of definition as to what abandonment is, what disrepair is. Because if you have a 400-acre field of panels, 6 or 8 is not abandonment, but maybe 20% is, or 30%. Because 20 years from now, everything may not be rosy as they are today. So I think we need to consider that future prospect of perhaps not everything going as planned. And my other concern would be, what is the what's the process for noncompliance? So we set all these rules, and at some point in the next 30 years, they do not comply.
You have about 15 seconds left.
that's the question I'm asking. What happens when they don't comply? Is there a penalty process, or is there, what process is there for that event?
Very good, thank you. Next, please.
Sally Fahey, 3910 Morehouse Road, and I'm here today representing the League of Women Voters. If there's any time left, I will represent myself.
Okay.
And you're getting printed copies of our statement, which was approved by the League Board on March 24th.
Thank you.
The first thing we'd like to talk about is that the League very strongly recommends that you reconsider adding AA zones by special exception as authorized locations for utility scale solar. We have 3 reasons. The first is that AA zoning is not based primarily or solely on soil productivity, but it's based on other factors, probably the most notable of which is proximity to sanitary sewer. You don't want AA zoning next to land that has sanitary sewer, because land that is available or could be sewered is better suited for growth needs of the community. So that means to me and the League that AA zoning should be farther out. Well, so should solar farms be farther out, which means then that they should also be available for approval on AA zoned land. The second reason is that if you recall in 1981 when the first large-scale modern comprehensive plan was adopted, APC followed that by rezoning township by township, especially starting in the rural ones because they were a little easier than the urban and the urbanizing townships. Well, about the same time, our landfill closed, and it became a Superfund site. Suddenly, we had no place to take our trash. So that drew in people who were interested in creating new landfills in our county. Well, now, of course, citizens became upset about the possibility of a new landfill, and all these townships that had been rezoned to A and AA, now they said, oh, we can't have any A zoning, we have to have AA so we don't have a landfill. So that for sure happened in Laramie Township. It may have also, but I didn't ask staff to take on another burden to research this for me. It may have happened in Randolph and Jackson, and may also have happened in Shelby Township. So a whole bunch of land that really qualified as A was suddenly zoned AA. The third reason is that there was a lot of discussion at the last meeting about keeping solar farms out of AA zoning was because ag land should be used for food and fiber. Well, according to the Indiana Soybean Alliance and the Indiana Corn Marketing Council, in 2023, 43% of the Indiana's corn crop went into ethanol. I will wrap up in just a second. Ethanol production is neither food nor fiber.
Sally, 3 minutes, please.
Well, if somebody can recognize her to finish up in
If
short
someone
time.
does, that's great.
Would somebody recognize?
I recognize that.
There we go.
Okay.
Please.
Well, ethanol production is neither food nor fiber, and the only way you get anything out of ethanol is if you burn it, and I think family farmers ought to be able to make those decisions on their own.
Very good, thank you. Next, please, name and address.
I'm Donna Scanlon. My address is 11401 South, 500 East, Lafayette. And I'm speaking tonight as president of the Tippecanoe County Farm Bureau. I appreciate the fact that I can speak and represent our board of 26 members and over 4,700 members of the Farm Bureau in Tippecanoe County. We are opposed to using farm ground for solar development, and we would ask that you not use productive farm ground, including that which is zoned A, AW, and AA. The reason that I'm including AW in with that is because even though it may be wooded, there are still important environmental factors that need to be considered. You know, as farmers, we don't always think just short term. We like to think long term and generations ahead. And so as citizens of this planet, we are committed to being stewards, and without that wooded area and different environmental localities that we have, we want to see that all species, including the insect and bird species, can survive, which will make our environments be able to continue for many generations. I just want to point out that agriculture contributes $244 million annually to our Tippecanoe County's economy. This is according to the National Agricultural Statistics Service. And when, according to American Farmland Trust, the amount of ag land being developed in the state is rapidly outpacing our nation's average. Tippecanoe County is one of the fastest growing, and so we would ask our county leaders to consider protecting and preserving agriculture land and to look at other possibilities. They're possibly not just cheap and easy, but to look at innovative and environmentally otherwise unsound areas that could be used, brown spaces, rooftops. You know, this is the time to innovate and look for other possibilities besides just going out to wide open ground, because if we don't preserve it now, it won't be preserved for the future. And we can coexist if we would look at these different possibilities. Energy can be generated in many spots, but productive farmland cannot. And we don't have any idea what kind of shape that ground's going to be in at the end of a solar development's lifespan. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, please.
Hi there, Ben Davis, 5105 Snapdragon Court, Lafayette. I first wanted to talk a little bit about the setbacks. So somebody mentioned before, you know, you purchase your dream home and then, you know, something happens and adjacent to it. So I did. I purchased my home 10 years ago. And there was an open field back there. There was just grass. There was trees. It was beautiful. We had a great view for quite a long distance. Well, 3 years ago, that land was sold, and they're now planting corn on it, right? So 2 or 3 months out of the year, right up against my fence with zero setback, I've got a wall of corn, and I don't have, you know, a good view. I did talk about last time that I would rather have solar there because the way they would face, I would still have my view and we'd have green energy. But, you know, we talk about setbacks for solar, but we don't have, at least where I live, setbacks for other agriculture. So I think there's a little bit of a disconnect there. Other things, safety, right? As far as roads, like out in the rural area of Tippecanoe County where I live, you know, when the corn's up, there's, you know, a lot of safety issues and intersections and stuff, right? So as far as being able to see, you know, the setbacks may be only 50 feet from the road for corn, but if we're going to have a lot further for solar, that's something I'm concerned about. The battery systems removal that we talked about before, I'm not an expert by any means, but I'm concerned that that could be an issue if we say that there's not going to be any battery systems at all. There may be in regular solar installations today that are large, there might be some battery component at a minimum. So if there is no batteries at all allowed, that may be, you know, a big deterrent from a lot of solar systems. Something, and again, I'm not an expert on this, but I've recently learned that there's a difference between prime farmland and AA zoned land, right? So AA zoned is selected agricultural, and these are apparently two different things. Prime farmland is a USDA designation, and AA zone land is a political. If the intention for removing AA zone land was to remove from prime farmland, my understanding of those are two different things. So if that was the intention, I'd recommend considering amending the ordinance to remove that provision. And then inverter placement. So as well as where I live, right, we talked about having things, you know, 1,000 feet or really far away from the actual inverters or transformers. I live 500 feet from a grain bin. And that grain bin after harvest is very loud. And for, you know, a couple of days, a couple of weeks, day and night, right, we hear that grain bin in my home. So if we're really concerned about sound, I want to make sure that we, you know, balance out other things that can create sound as well. So, all right, and that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, please.
Hi, Barb Brown. I live at 515 North 5th Street in Lafayette. So, you know, this is a great community. That's why we're all here, because we want to keep it that way. But the reality is Lafayette's growing, Tippecanoe County is growing, we will need more electricity. So solar power is the world's cheapest form of energy. It can help us keep all of our utility bills lower. It can keep our air cleaner by reducing dependence on fossil fuels. And farmers who choose to lease their land for use as a solar farm, they will benefit financially. And then they can resume agricultural farming if they wish to do so when the solar project ends. I think that all agricultural zone land in Tippecanoe County should be available for consideration for solar projects. You know, really, if the landowner decides that's the best for them, I think they should have the right to use their land for solar installations. You know, they're benefiting by keeping the land in their families, which maybe they wouldn't be able to do otherwise. And I feel like they're benefiting, you know, all of us by generating clean energy, improving our air and water quality. So obviously we need the guidance of this solar ordinance to make sure that any future solar projects do comply with zoning regulations on size, setbacks, and decommissioning. But I ask that, you know, as you make these decisions, please consider solar is the fastest growing energy source, including in the U.S. So let's not get left behind. You know, we in Tippecanoe County need to continue to be really forward-thinking and welcome solar projects to our community. I feel like they will provide safe and renewable means to meet our energy needs for a long time to come. Thanks.
Very good, thank you. Next, please.
Hi, Del Craig, 6817 South 700 West, West Point, Indiana. Ordinance Committee, APC Commissioners, thank you a ton for what you've been doing. We appreciate it. We've asked you to do this, and you've been working diligently for that. I'm also a Farm Bureau member and also a farmer from South Florida part of the county. Indiana's already number one in several things. Commercial duck production, number 3, tomatoes processing, poultry, eggs, number 5 in hogs. Sally, if you'd have asked Courtney Kingery, the CEO down, she would have told you also that we're 4th in the state in Tippecanoe County in corn soybean production. So we are behind Montgomery County, Benton, and Madison counties. What that really means is we have some of the most productive land in the state. And so what I'd ask is for you to consider is, since we're one of the top contributors, is to, again, think about on page 1, we have restricted, at least in the ordinance as written today, AA. I'd ask you to add A back into that, also be exempted from that exception as well. I wouldn't go so far, Don and I and some of the Farm Bureau members would disagree on the AW, but David, back there, wherever you are, I would argue that good management on A land can outproduce AA land. And I don't disagree with the young man who was just up here, and perhaps we're looking at rezoning, how we do our zoning, in terms of using USDA productivity of land as opposed to however it was done in the past. But the idea is to don't use your best farmland for energy production. The second recommendation I would make would be there on page 7, section D, when you talk about the contract. I absolutely agree, and I agree with the young lady that mentioned putting a mandate in place. But the other thing I'd add for you guys, I would hope, commissioners, you guys will negotiate with the developers, right, so that that power that's generated on this SES, if we put one in or multiple ones, love the 400 acre project maximum, but make sure that the power generated from this SES stays at least in the state. Not the county, but at least in the state. I don't want to be taking our best farmland and sending electricity to New York, Philadelphia, or Chicago. So something to consider. So make sure you're negotiating something for either the neighbors for reductions, for having to look at it, and or at least for the county and the state that will be produced.
Very good, thank you. Okay. Next, please.
What do you distribute?
Just drop them off there, we'll pass them around, thank you.
I'm Wayne Groby. I live at 215 South 6th Street in Lafayette, Indiana. I was going to argue for larger than the 100 megawatt hour battery, but now I seem to have to argue for a battery at all. The solar energy is inherently not dispatchable. And if you're going to integrate this into a smoothly running power distribution system, and if you're going to have any decent penetration, say above 20%, I think you really have to have a battery in order to fill in for the lack of dispatchability. I would argue for a larger battery than what you allowed, but right now I just want to say you need a battery in order to keep the management of the system. Some people have argued that cobalt is a problem. Well, the current most economical battery is lithium iron phosphate, no cobalt involved. And so your documentation there goes more into the battery situation, but I wanted to get into glare for a moment. So the specifying of glare in terms of foot candles just doesn't make any sense. Basically, glare is something when something bright interferes with something that's dim, or when something bright is just uncomfortable in your environment. There is a standard, it's ICE 117, which gives a means of calculating glare. And the most important part of that is that it has a parameter which you take the luminance of your glare source and divide that by the luminance of the background, which your standard doesn't even mention the background. Then you multiply that by the illuminance of the glare source. Then that goes into the calculation, and so those three parameters are necessary. There is a fourth parameter, which is the position of the glare source relative to your line of sight. So I hope that you will look at that, which is described in more detail in the documentation that I gave you. Another issue that I wanted to bring up is noise.
So you have
15 seconds, sir.
Okay. I think the noise standards can be tightened up because the primary noise, I believe, is going to be the fan noise from heat exchangers. And so the detail there is...
3 minutes, sir. That's 3. Thank you.
next, please. Thank you.
Hi, John Evans, 952 Kerber Road, West Lafayette. So my house would have been surrounded by 3 sides by the Rainbow Trout Solar Project, so I'm pretty invested in this. But I'd like you to maybe think about it in a different perspective. I'm not thinking about this as solar versus no solar. I'm thinking about it as a for-profit company and homeowners. So I think, like I said, I was surrounded on 3 sides. There are numerous studies that all say that this impacts our home values. They vary somewhat in how much, but they all say that they do. So I encourage you to increase the property setback limits. And I was encouraged to see that it had the exception for limiting or for allowing it to be waived by the non-participating if there was an offer of a good neighbor. So that made a lot of sense to me, right? Like have big setbacks, but allow them to waive it if the company is basically making us whole for the loss of our property value. That seemed like a great compromise. I would encourage you to keep the property line, not the dwelling, as stated in the ordinance. And then I would also, as mentioned before, encourage you guys to look into penalties for noncompliance and make sure that across all of these things that there are actionable things that can be done. Like I said, if we're going to live next to this, I want to make sure that they're not finding loopholes to avoid some of this. And then the last thing I'll encourage is on the buffer yard. I would appreciate it if you guys would look at adding something about establishment. So there are criteria right now, but there's nothing about establishment. So, on day 1, do these need to be at that criteria, or is there some kind of time frame that they're given to actually get it there? That's all I have, and thank you guys.
Thank you. Next, please.
Yeah, John Ade, 8640 West, 125 North, West Lafayette. Yeah, as I handed out at the last meeting, my home would have been surrounded by 3 3/4 side. So, yeah, getting these additional buffers, I think, is a really good thing. Mr. Reynolds mentioned, though, you know, we just had a tornado go through. So in my property, had that tornado gone through and brought all that glass across my place, what am I supposed to do? And what's the responsibility of the, you know, person or the company that has those panels? So I think, you know, somewhere, whether it's in section 1, we need to consider what damage could happen, you know, with, you know, a storm if they pollute or, you know, trash gets thrown over on other people's property. And then how do you know, you can't take 12 months, you know, and I don't know how to go clean up a solar panel. I might, you know, whether it's healthy or not healthy, you know, so I think we need to include something in here about storm damage and adjacent properties. The other piece, you know, that I think, you know, I think this, the AA and the, you know, and the A, one thing that some counties, you know, have real estate, you know, protection, you know, to the, you know, to people with homes and real estate. One way that you could do something is that rather than, you know, you could almost get rid of all the other stuff if you would allow, when they come in to do a project, just have them go, you know, rather than to do property guarantees, just have them, you know, adjacent landowners sign off. You know, I mean, I might be out in Timbuktu and my neighbor comes and says, I want to do my 600 acres. Are you okay with that? I'd be probably willing to sign off, but it gives me an opportunity for that, you know, company coming in to negotiate. If I think I'm going to lose 200,000 on my ground, it gives me an opportunity to negotiate that. Otherwise, we're just out here in the, you know, in the open in uncharted territories trying to figure that out. So those would be 2 suggestions I think we ought to seriously consider.
Very good. Thank you, John. Next, please.
Good evening. My name is Emily Tippecanoe, and I work in Indiana. I develop energy infrastructure throughout the state. So while we don't have any planned development in this county, we have invested significantly throughout the state of Indiana, and we believe that ordinances can really help to drive well-crafted, valuable projects that deliver benefits to local communities and developers. We've invested hundreds of millions of dollars throughout the state of Indiana, and we want to continue to invest hundreds of millions of dollars in the state. It's a state we love to do business in, and we love to build really good projects in. And every good project we build starts with a good ordinance and a good zoning code, one that works for both the local community and the developer. There are a couple of provisions in this ordinance that I would ask you to reconsider related to solar acreage. We're supporters of ordinances, and that would be NextEra Energy, because they provide clarity for developers throughout the development process, right? It gives us a lot of clarity on what we need to work on, but it puts all of the decision-making power in your hands, right? You're retaining control of what we're able to build, and you're able to keep us accountable in terms of the expectations of how we're building the project. Overly restrictive ordinances, however, when it comes to setbacks or acreage, can really discourage development, and it can effectively kill a project, as I've heard this mentioned throughout the evening. And by discouraging this potential investment, you're truly limiting millions of dollars of benefits to your local community. This specific acreage that you're looking at and some of the setbacks would really discourage investment in the county and would make it very difficult to build a lot of different solar projects. And we believe that solar projects, and we've seen it happen throughout the state, can deliver millions of dollars in tax revenue locally. You're also talking about construction jobs, you're talking about full-time jobs, and you're talking about economic activity throughout the life of the solar project. Solar energy is extremely safe. It's capable of providing really clean, reliable energy to the grid. We continue to see a growth in energy demand, as we've heard this evening, throughout the state of Indiana and throughout the United States, right? And you need all kinds of energy to meet that demand. You need gas, you need nuclear, you need solar, you need wind, you need battery, you need it all. We really need diverse energy to match the demands that we're seeing. If you're looking at smaller projects, you're not only limiting the economic benefit, you're limiting also the energy that you're able to bring onto the grid, right? So you're limiting all sorts of development locally throughout the states of Indiana and throughout the United States as well. As I've heard mentioned tonight also that I want to highlight, when we're developing solar projects, we work with willing landowners nearby to really, either purchase their land or take into account lease agreements. And so we're making sure that landowners who are willing to work with us are retaining also significant economic benefits. So thank you for your consideration. And I don't know if folks were following, but I think NASA successfully launched Artemis 2nd, so.
Very good.
Pretty big
Thank
win
you.
for the country tonight. Thank you.
Next, please.
Hello, Nicole Dutlinger, 511 Kerber Road, about a half mile off of some projects that have already been proposed. So that's honestly why I started to pay attention. I do teach political science, and I have now gotten on my students about how they actually need to learn about what all of you all do. I've learned so much, honestly. So I'll keep it brief. I didn't expect that I would need to go over basic utility scale solar math, though. There's a lot about this 400 acres is going to make it unfeasible. A 400 acre cap on solar development does not make projects unfeasible. It still supports fully viable grid-connected utility scale installations using standard widely developed technology. I luckily had somebody, like at least two somebodies, also say some of the same things, so I'm not going to really repeat those. But on 400 acres of usable land, the utility scale energy system easily reaches up to 119 megawatts and can produce up to 159 million kilowatts hours per year. And that's not a stretch goal, that's standard industry output. There are currently 75 solar generation projects waiting to be connected to Indiana's current grid that are under 400 acres. If an acreage cap is a ban and makes it financially unfeasible, then why are there so many companies willing to build arrays under 400 acres? In Indiana, 159 million kilowatt hours per year is enough electricity for approximately 16,000 houses. At current market pricing, that translates to roughly $8 million in annual revenue. Those are solid, financeable numbers by a reasonable industry standard. It's also worth noting that feasibility in solar is not dictated solely by acreage. The real constraints are interconnection capacity, project design, and economics. A 400-acre site is already large enough to capture economies of scale and support efficient construction and operation. So to be clear, a 400-acre cap does not prevent utility scale solar. It still allows for meaningful generation, strong project economics, and standard system design. Suggesting otherwise reflects a misunderstanding of how these projects are actually built and financed. We need to ground these conversations in real-world project data, as I just have, rather than broad claims about feasibility. I can hardly consider 16,000 homes and $8 million a year a bad thing. Thank you.
Thank you. Before we continue on, I hope nobody noticed, we said we were going to end this at 7 o'clock, and we're past that, but I'd like to finish tonight if we can, unless somebody has objection. So we have some people in line at 3 minutes apiece. Is there anybody else that wants to speak that's not in line?
Yeah, my knees aren't going to stand this long. So.
Okay, so we got one. Okay. So as we go forward, I don't know what, we've kind of discussed solar pros and cons. I guess I'd be looking for proposed ordinance changes, because we have proposed an ordinance. We've had the commissioners comment on that. And in the end, as I said, by state law, they get to write the ordinance. So anyway, with that going forward, next, please.
Hi, my name is Trina Raudebush, 850 Massachusetts Avenue, Indianapolis. I do work for an independent power producer. We do not have an interest in building in Tippecanoe County, but I'm here tonight speaking on behalf of myself and standing with landowners who want the opportunity to consider leasing their land into a project. I stand with Hoosiers that are advocates for property rights, investing in Tippecanoe County, and supporting affordable American-made clean energy. I'm not here to tell you if solar is a good idea or a bad idea for Tippecanoe County, rather to provide factual information so that you can make a decision that impacts economic prosperity of the county and supports health and safety of your neighbors and my fellow Hoosiers. Coming into tonight, I wanted to commend you and the Solar Committee on their thoughtful approach and their desire, their very clear desire to do what's right for the county. I have a number of comments, concerns, questions that I'll follow up in writing in the interest of time. But I did want to address a couple questions that were posed by your board. The tornado damage for the site in northern Indiana that took that direct hit, it did perform as designed. If you look at the photos, the panels and majority of the debris was held within the fence. It's an extreme case, it happens. And developers, owners, and operators are prepared for those situations. The developer, the project itself is responsible for the cleanup, the cost of that, and their ordinance does speak to the clause of abandonment. Typically, that's not producing power for a set amount of time. So it gives them the chance to clean up properly, to rebuild properly. There are supply chain issues that certainly will impact some of that. I know we've touched on the 400-acre cap on a project. I don't believe Zach took into consideration interconnection capacity. He said he found a parcel in Tippecanoe County, which I believe that could sustain 400 acres for 119 megawatts. I'm impressed by the design, but it doesn't take into consideration whether it's located at a point of interconnection that could also accommodate that capacity need. Also, any environmental constraints, wetlands, woodlands, other items that we might need to build around or set back from, and it certainly didn't take into consideration the setbacks that you discussed afterward that would be part of that.
15.
Thank you. I'm just going to leave it there. I will follow up with a number of questions, but I'm also happy to have side conversations.
Very good. Thank you very much. Next, please, and we'll try to give you a 15-second notice on your 3 minutes.
Yeah, my name is A.R. Lane, 127 Westwood Drive, West Lafayette. I just wanted to make a couple comments, just so people can kind of wrap their head around some of these numbers that are being tossed around. The 1,000-foot setback, if me as an individual right now were to build a 10-acre square solar farm, which is the current cap on individuals, I believe. With a 1,000-foot setback on each side of that, my 10-acre square would have to sit on 163 acres. That's less than that's like 6.1% of my land I would be able to use personally for solar if those numbers were to go through. So I think that needs to be changed. Do I think it should be 0? No. But do I think 1,000 is excessive? Absolutely. I think that speaking of tornadoes and damages and talking about disasters, I think that it could be beneficial to add a natural disaster clause or amendment to the decommission timeline. So instead of having a 12-month period of a disaster or a damaged facility due to a tornado or hail, that company may be asked to expedite cleanup, whether it be 3 months or 90, whatever it is you guys decide on. Going further, I think a ban on batteries is a very, very, very bad idea. I understand that there is fear with the unknown or the new, but if you look at Australia, they were able to significantly increase the reliability of their grid and also reduce costs, because this battery allows you to save extra energy to use at the highest peak usage hours, and then so bringing costs down because there's more supply. So I think that batteries should definitely be considered. Earlier it was said we should use AA farmland. We should not use AA farmland for energy production. We already are. We already said that almost 50% of our corn production is going to ethanol, and that is not staying local, that is going out of the area. People are also not really aware of the size of the cuts that are going to happen to our education and our school systems, that these solar companies could help close that gap due to our
15
recent
seconds, please.
state's funding cuts. This is an opportunity to lower energy costs, to increase education, and to take care of our community. Please think of the future. Thank you.
Very good, thank you. Next, please.
Mary Sell, 1923 Blueberry Lane, West Lafayette, Indiana. 40 years ago, I was involved in protesting a landfill in Newton County on agricultural land. I thought, that's good farmland. People need to reduce, recycle, and reuse instead of using farm ground for landfills, and think of the cleanup and decommissioning of that, which is now 360 acres. Do we need electricity? Are people willing to use less electricity? Are we using more electricity? We're using more. Therefore, I support Tippecanoe County moving forward with an ordinance favorable to large-scale solar energy systems. Some points of concern discussed in the ordinance and at the March 4th hearing were setbacks, the inverter transformer setbacks, noise, glare, security lighting. I believe one requirement can be added to the ordinance, possibly page 5, D2 is it, on buffer zones. For the types of plantings, I'm recommending windbreaks, which would be conifers, which would stay green all year, along with pollinators and other shrubs. These are designed to provide economic, environmental, and community benefits. The main idea of windbreaks is to slow the wind, which creates a more beneficial condition for soils, crops, livestock, wildlife, and people. Non-wind-related benefits of windbreaks on solar builds include visual screening from glare and security lights. Aesthetics, scenic landscape of trees and shrubs hiding the solar panels, and noise reduction of inverters and transformers. Windbreaks would be valuable to Tippecanoe County as a whole by providing ecosystem benefits, enhancement of biodiversity, wildlife, and pollinator habitat, carbon storage, solar and water quality protection. Roads along a solar energy systems could experience less drifting snow, thus increasing driving safety. Those with property adjoining a solar energy system may enjoy lower heating costs, reduced exterior building maintenance, think about the wind damage you have all the time, especially if you're out on the prairie, improved outdoor working and recreational conditions, and noise and dust control due to the windbreak plantings on the other side of their property lines. So I think setbacks is an issue that you might reconsider as far as the distance by creating windbreaks to alleviate some of those concerns. Fossil fuels are dwindling, they're expensive, pollute, and not readily accessible. Solar, on the other hand, is bountiful, cheap, clean, and easy to access. Add windbreaks to the perimeter of solar installations, and you add good stewardship of the land while alleviating many of the concerns of
15 seconds, please.
neighbors. Again, I urge you to move forward with a deployable solar ordinance for Tippecanoe County, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next, please.
Hello, my name is Joshua Brandt. I live at 3421 North 650 West. I'm a candidate for Indiana State Senate District 23. I support solar. I know that the grid is overtaxed, and I want to help struggling farmers. But this is not the way. Trying to find a compromise, I see it. I see that you guys are doing your best up here. But I want you to consider that maybe the middle ground is not how far the setback is, or what kind of fence or glare control we have. Maybe a fair starting point for this conversation is solar projects on rooftops, or maybe over parking spaces. I don't think you would see half the opposition in this room today if that was what we were talking about. With that in mind, I'd like to propose that we take care of the communities that we're here to serve before foreign corporations. Jerry raised a point earlier about what if the surety bonds don't cover storm damage, and it just kind of got glossed over. I think we need to take a little time to consider that. Regarding sub 8, D, 1, and 2, if we take into consideration that premise about rooftops being where we should be talking, Why don't we talk about maybe this shouldn't be an either-or situation, and maybe it should be both, if we're looking to really take care of our community? The 1,000-yard setback, as well as the, what'd you call it, the buffer yard. We need to be taking care of our communities. And so I urge you to consider what I've said, consider working with me in the future to find better ways to advance renewable energy, to take better care of our communities, and to protect the quality farmland that Indiana is known for. Thank you.
Very good, thank you. Next, please.
Good evening. I was going to say good afternoon, but I'm Larry Underwood, 7015 North, 225 West, West Lafayette. As having farmed in this county more than 50 years, I don't know if there was any farmer representation on any of these committees and some of this decision-making. And it certainly does affect farmers because devoting many acres to solar or any other use will drive up a precious commodity, and that's either rent or purchase of farmland. So I would, again, just trying to keep this short and to the point. I heard Mr. Reynolds say something about, and that was in my prepared remarks, about this March 10 tornado near Wheatfield, and it must have taken out quite a substantial amount of those fields up there, solar panel fields. And having dealt with IDEM personally, and I hope I would not have to extend that to EPA, what are the safeguards? I did not see that, and you mentioned ordinance comments. Maybe it's clarified, because this is the first I've seen this. And are you or county protected adequately? It seemed like there was discussion about the bond amount and abandonment. Well, when that comes into play, it seemed like that was really made the Tippecanoe County vulnerable in that situation, if I read that and heard the comments correctly. I appreciate the job you folks are doing and trying to do, and those on steering committees, others. But it seems to me large scale, I want to qualify, large scale solar is not the way to go. I don't know what kind of mess they've got up there in Jasper County. I sure wouldn't want it on my farm. Let me end by reading this. It was on our document here. In 2023, according to USDA, it is fundamentally unsound to sacrifice irreplaceable, historically top-tier farmland for subpar use. And I think that someone said that could certainly extend to wetland or forested land as well. It may not be that flat, black farmland that many of you would think of, but we need to be wise in that farmland and land use. So thank you for your time, for the job you do.
Very good. You need to sign in, Larry, if you would, please. Thank you. Next, please.
My name is Gwen Feemster, and I live at 5920 West, 350 North in West Lafayette. Let me start by saying I am pro-solar and green energy, but I want to see a smart ordinance guardrails on industrial solar projects in order to protect our property owner and health. First, I want to say, please clarify the language in Section 8DII that the choice of the larger setbacks should be the choice of the property owner, not the developer. But the biggest concern to me and my specific neighborhood of over 50 homes is the electrical substation. My backyard already has a massive electrical substation in it. When we first moved here, that substation was small, but when the wind farms went in, that substation more than doubled in size. Adding this electrical substation in my front yard will sandwich me and my neighbors between two electrical substations. It has very bright, the current one in my backyard has very bright lights in the interior and is surrounded on all sides by lighting at every pole on the fence. It looks like a prison. The noise is loud enough to be heard at houses a quarter-mile away. I can hear it in my bedroom at night with the windows and the doors closed. The roar is 24/7. Needless to say, the noise and light pollution from the substation that I already have interferes with the quality of life. Substations are loud, large, noisy, and a visual eyesore. They cannot be buffered for safety reasons. Therefore, the only way to protect my property and value and my health is a significant setback. We need setbacks of 1,320 feet, or a quarter mile, for any electrical substation in a solar project in this county. Honestly, if I had my way about it, nobody should be subjected to being sandwiched between two substations. I would say it would be wrong to put me and my neighbors between two substations. Please put in place an ordinance that has substation setbacks, restrictions, and limits that will protect the health and property of my neighbors. Thanks.
Thank you. Just sign in, please, if you would. Gwen? You already did. Thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Brendan Miller. I'm a professional engineer with Westwood Professional Services. I work in the battery energy storage industry, and so I wanted to shed a little light on some of the topics that came up with the battery energy storage question. Since there's no definition within the ordinance to tell what that is, I would assume that would fall back onto the International Fire Code as to what constitutes battery energy storage. This would include everything down to small UPS systems or an uninterruptible power supply. Those would be typically in a substation as well as inside the inverters in the solar project. So simply banning battery energy storage is effectively a ban on solar. So I would be very careful about including that language because I don't think that's the intent here. But without a better definition, I assume because the International Building Code is adopted, which includes the International Fire Code, which includes subsection 1207, which speaks about battery energy storage. So I also want to comment, prior to being in battery energy storage, I did work in solar. I do think the numbers here, the math simply doesn't work with these setbacks. You cannot build a utility scale project with these setbacks and these acreages and have it be economical, just due to the size of and cost of building the substation that's associated with it. So I think there needs to be more consideration put into how these setbacks would work along with the total acreages. 1,500-foot setback on all four sides of a 400-acre parcel leaves like 20 acres to work with, and that's nowhere near what's, what would be appropriate for these projects. And then finally, I just wanted to also comment on, I keep hearing things about like cost and whatnot, and why don't we put these solar panels somewhere else? Well, these projects exist because it is economical to build a large project at one time, and you can use trackers. It's much cheaper than putting it on rooftops. This is what keeps the prices down. And when you combine these projects with battery energy storage, as some of the other commenters already said, this is important to utilize that energy and give the most cost benefit to the ratepayers who everyone here I'm sure wants cheap electricity. So that's all I wanted to say, and I'm happy to take any questions on battery energy storage. That's what I do for a living. I've been doing it for 10 years, all the way from when there were small projects to what we're talking about today. So thanks.
Very good, thank you. Next, please.
My name's Mark Bennett, and I live 10 miles west on State Road 26 West, and I'm probably kind of a unique individual here. I am a stakeholder in the Rainbow Trout Solar Project. Bennett Farms has signed a contract with RWE to lease our farm for a minimum of 20 years and maybe extended on past that. And what I would like to recognize is my friends, my neighbors, we have some issues out there that I actually, we need to discuss that with them. But rainbow trout has not been approved. It's sitting over in the courthouse on a judge's desk. We'll see what will happen in the future on that. But I can also feel with the Montmorency people.
If you just make your comments.
I can also feel with my Montmorency neighbors that you've got a unique situation up there. You're like, that's too much going on for Montmorency. I think that's true.
Try to get him back here.
So what I'd like to also mention is, Tippecanoe County is like 500 square miles. And what you have proposed here with the 6,000 acre limit cap is 9.5 square miles. I mean, to be honest, we've got 334 square miles that's farmed, and that's potentially 334 square miles of solar panels, although that won't ever get that big because we're going to have apartments out in those fields, not solar panels. Yeah. And what I'm suggesting here is that there should not be any cap, because what you're doing is you're capping development on one industry, which is solar power. And why not, let's cap apartment building, let's cap home building, let's cap factory building. We got factories all over the place. We got home building all over the place. But you're going to say, okay, solar, big solar, you can only go to 9.5 square miles, but big apartment, big home building they don't have any caps. I mean, when are they going to get their caps? So the thing to wrap this up is that when you put the caps in place, I was looking for rules and regulations. 15 seconds, please. Okay, then I'll wrap it up there, but let's talk again the next meeting. What date's the next meeting? April 15th. Okay, thanks.
Next, please. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Kelly McHugh. I'm also with Westwood Professional Services. We are a third party. We do not build, own, operate these sites. I'm on the environmental side. That's my expertise. I am a certified hazardous material manager. That is an EPA recognized accreditation for the management, storage, and eventual disposal of hazardous materials. I noticed you had that toxic characteristic leaching protocol in there. That's something that I specialize in and I deal with. I wanted to speak to your ordinance specifically. There was maybe some uncertainty of whether or not these costs would fully cover decommissioning. The first point I want to mention is that they don't include salvage in your ordinance, which is fairly typical these days. But if a solar site were to be decommissioned, there would be materials that are valuable. So that helps offset costs in those cases. That bond would not cover those, so you would have that full amount. But I do want to note that that would be something that would come back if the county or the landowner had to decommission. You could sell off not just the panels themselves, depending on how old they are, they could be valuable, as well as their materials are valuable, but the metals, the majority of this site is racking, frankly. The racking that the panels are on, the posts that go in the ground, their foundations, that's all racking. That's metal, that's valuable as we know at this point. The cost estimate itself that the bond would be based off of, this is based off of things that we see done all the time. Removal of access roads, removal of fencing, removal of underground cabling. There's certainty to what that would cost. That is something we could pull off of any construction estimating database at this moment. The one factor that isn't as certain, of course, is the removal of the panels, but as we've talked about, that happens on rooftop solar, that happens a lot of times. That happens when they're installing the panels. They have to disconnect them, move them again sometimes every once in a while. So we know exactly what technician is needed, what amount of labor, their productivity goes into that. It's a pretty good guess. That being said, there are contingencies occasionally. You could account for a little more in that estimate to cover those things. You account for soil testing, like we mentioned. There was a question about inflation costs. Not only do you have that 5-year, every year review, but the surety bonds typically actually have an inflation factor on them. So in those times in between those reviews, there would also be a compounding factor. I do want to note that you don't have a time by which that 5-year period would start. Sometimes it's from the building permit time, sometimes it's from the start of construction, sometimes it's from the start of operations, their COD. That might be something that you want to add to the ordinance. I also wanted to speak to the hazardous materials. That is what I specialize in. The panels themselves go through toxic characteristic leaching protocol, which is, you mentioned it for installing, it's for landfills. So what is the worst case scenario? You grind up a panel, you soak it in acid. Typically, we're talking about groundwater. That's what we want to see. These panels always pass. They are never below. Thank you. Oh, was that my time? I just want to be sure. Okay, thank you so much, though.
Next, please.
I'm Darrell Schultz, and I live at 1815 Woodland Avenue in West Lafayette. I'm a soil scientist and a retired professor from the Purdue Agronomy Department. And toxic materials was touched on in just the previous speaker, but I'd like to address inaccurate claims regarding soil contamination from lead and cadmium from leaching of solar panels and of zinc washing off the galvanized panel structures. With regard to leaching of lead and cadmium, there's a very credible study from the International Energy Agency in which solar panels were tested using a method that simulates leaching from cracked solar panels by acid rainfall, and the results were then extrapolated to the soil under a utility scale solar project using realistic rates for panel cracking and assuming that the cracked panels were exposed for an entire year. And from this study, we learned that for crystalline solar panels, crystalline silica solar panels, the amount of lead likely to be deposited in the soil over 30 years is only 1/3 pound per acre. The soil here in central Indiana already has a background concentration of about 44 pounds of lead per acre. So adding an additional 1/3 pound barely changes the background. For cadmium telluride solar panels, which are apparently quite rare, the amount of cadmium expected to be deposited in the soil over 30 years is only about 1/10 of 1 ounce per acre. And since our soils already contain about a 1/2 pound of cadmium per acre, adding this small amount is inconsequential. So these metals, as the previous speaker mentioned, are encapsulated within these solar panels and will not leach out and contaminate our soils. Another claim is that zinc from the galvanized support structures will contaminate the soil, and it's true that the metallic zinc will slowly oxidize to zinc oxide and wash into the soil immediately adjacent to the support structures, but there the zinc will be precipitated or absorbed onto soil mineral surfaces and become considerably less soluble and bioavailable.
15 seconds, sir.
Okay. Zinc is essential for both plants and animals. Zinc deficiencies are often observed in corn. Zinc oxide can be purchased as a zinc oxide ointment that's used to heal.
That's 3 minutes.
Okay. Itchy skin and including diaper rash. So it's not normally toxic and will not contaminate the soil under solar panels.
Very good, thank you. Next, please.
Thank you. Wasn't planning on talking tonight because I've already got a 3-page letter into you. But my name's Jerry Rowe, 2634 West, 750 North. I retired from this company here, American Electric Power, who owns Indiana Michigan Power, which I worked for 45 years. I'm an electrical engineer and an IT professional. And I don't think we're talking about the right thing. You're talking about solar panels out here going to give you electricity. Frankly, it's a pittance. Probably, I don't know the numbers, I didn't research this kind of thing, and I haven't been to all the power plants in Indiana, just mainly ours, AEPs. And I've been to some others, not in Indiana, but I wouldn't be a bit surprised if the whole of Indiana is powered by 24 maybe generating plants. And this thing out here that you're talking about, I would doubt that it can power Lafayette. It's just not that much electricity. Not only that, but it might power it at noon with the sun straight down, let's say it does. 2 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 9 a.m., no. Midnight, nothing. So what's the problem here is this is just an auxiliary thing that's not going to do a lot with a lot of damage to the farms, which I've got farm ground here too. And if you really went and figured out how much this is giving you in the terms of power and compared it to what we're using, you'd wonder why we even bother. It's just not, it doesn't make sense. I can't figure this out in my head why this makes any sense. You'd be a lot better, and they've talked about this recently, this could be coming, small-scale nuclear power plants. A few here and there, it probably replace the whole solar farm. It probably wouldn't take that many. And if we did that all over Indiana, we might not have to build any more coal plants. And by the way, American Electric Power has a nuclear plant up in Michigan. It's been running 30 years, I think now. And just like, it never changes. It just keeps going. They have to refuel it once every few years, I think, just in phases, you know. But it's maintenance free, as you would expect for a power plant. You got to do maintenance, but
15 seconds, please.
you don't. Most people don't understand the size of these generating plants. I've been in one that puts out, I think, is it 2,000 million kilowatts or whatever? I forget the rating on it, but the generator wouldn't fit in this building.
3 minutes.
It's just vastly different.
Very good, thank you. Next, please. Hello, I'm Peter Bermel. I'm from 1011 Elm Drive in West Lafayette, Indiana. So I want to thank you all for having me. We face an important challenge, which is, on the one hand, we're facing a real crisis in energy markets where the supply is going down and our prices are going up. And at the same time, I also recognize that people are rightly concerned about their homes and their farms and their livelihoods in the community. So how do we figure out what to do, right? It's not an easy challenge. Our country is founded on freedom, and I think that we can all agree that once we buy a piece of property, we should have rights associated with that property. Otherwise, why are we buying it? So we should give people rights by default to do things that are in their interest, but we also need to protect those communities that are nearby, make sure that there are no harmful effects on the locals. So in other words, we need regulations that are grounded in rational cause and effect analysis. And I think that's what you all are trying to do here today, and I appreciate that you are taking a deep dive and really spending a lot of extra time today and many other days make this happen. So I want to comment briefly on 3 things. First, UCO 32. So you may know that 400 acres sounds like a lot, but actually I think 93% or so of developments actually are much bigger than that. So that does immediately limit the number of developments that can be deployed in order to give us low-cost solar power. And also, if we put it on rooftops, that can drive up the cost quite a bit. But then, on the other hand, we can deploy things like agrivoltaics and pollinator habitats to accommodate more protection of the environment, and we should encourage that. On 41114, if we have setbacks of 500 feet or more, they should have a rational basis. So in other words, they should not be
just the default, but there should be some rationale such as higher levels of noise or other safety hazards to the locals before we just implement that on a blanket basis, because it does take a lot of land out of use. And then finally on 41115, if we're reducing noise below 45 dB, that's a very, very low noise level, and it is pretty hard to build to that, maybe not impossible, but it adds cost. And so if we were able to stay within 50 dB, that still keeps things very quiet and reduces build costs to give us low-cost solar energy. So in conclusion, I think that you all are doing a great job of trying to balance the freedom and the responsibilities that we have to our communities, and I hope that you'll consider my comments in this light. Thank you.
Very good. So this is our final speaker. Is anybody else wanting to speak? Did she speak? She's already spoken.
Did you already talk?
Yeah, she
Pardon me?
Did you already speak?
Yes.
That was on the gas station.
Oh, exactly. She spoke at Exec.
Very good. Okay, thank you.
Bless this mess.
I'm sorry, you have to speak up. Name and address and then speak up for us, please.
Susan Schechter.
That 45 decibels whisper. That's the, so I bless this mess. Susan Schechter, 1001 Ferry Street, Lafayette. When this started, when the commissioners chose to put a moratorium on solar development after a solar development was proposed so that they could rewrite the rules, I was concerned, and a lot of people I know are concerned that this is because we in Tippecanoe County will not be allowed to benefit from renewable energy. And that has been, that Commissioners Brown and Byers have spoken up loudly in opposition to this project, or to solar in general. It kind of is consistent. And the county wind ban, oh, it's not a wind ban, it's just practically a wind ban. We haven't had any wind development because the ordinance does not allow economical development of wind. With that said, was this year's, now only 8 or 9 month long process a horse and pony show? How much time has it wasted of the commissioners, the APC staff, though I must say, I'm glad to see APC staff involved finally, because they have some process chops. That spreadsheet that came out at the last meeting was curious in that this committee had met for so long and they came up with these alternatives that were listed without any supporting evidence. Just, choose your alternative. So did you all feel with that level of information that you were ready to make a decision, but you started voting on these alternatives? It's like process. It's kind of appalling that that's the level of
15 seconds, please.
Process that we see out of our county commissioners.
Very good, thank you. Did we have one more speaker? Please.
Can I give you a handout?
Just give it and we'll pass it out. Give it to someone and we'll pass it out. Name and address and we're ready to go.
My name is Mark Simons, 16193 South 150 West, Kenland, Indiana. I want to address this issue of the solar panels being damaged and hurting the ground. I have 10 acres of solar on my farm. It's been in my family for 160 years. I farmed it for 50 years. I have a degree in agronomy and accounting from the University of Illinois. This was installed 6 years ago. No one has complained about it in the least. Everybody sees it's right along Highway 24. That's the way they're constructed. This is just like a utility scale farm would be put in this way because they use tractors. That's what those are. They're single axis tractors. There's virtually no concrete out there. The structures to hold the solar panels were pounded in the ground. They're galvanized steel. Minimal damage to the ground. Also, that solar field is not mowed. I've kept the predaceous weeds out of the field, and it's just in natural grass. That wasn't planted. That's what came up naturally. That land is like it was 160 years ago. So the other thing is I have a solar module here that has been damaged. This is a common silicon module. They've been making these since 1970. There are only 3 components to it. There's nothing to leak. It doesn't, when it shatters, it has a backer going on. This would look like what the ones in Weaken look like.
We need you at the microphone, sir. Yeah.
Thank you.
Can I pass this around?
Well, if he passes that around, does that become our property as part of the evidence submitted? Do you want to part with that?
I really don't, but you guys can look at it.
Okay, so why don't you hang on to it?
Okay. What I'm telling you, this thing doesn't leak anything. It doesn't, it's made out of tempered glass with a backer on it. It's laminated, so it's not going to get on the ground. It just won't. There are only 3 components here: the wiring, the bus bars, silicon, and aluminum. And I want to address the issue of landowner rights.
You got about 30 seconds left.
I personally pay $40,000 in Indiana on property taxes. And I've been told that I can't do what I want on my ground, even though I don't believe for a second that it hurts my neighbors in the least. I don't believe that these panels
15 seconds.
constitute a danger to public health or safety. Thank you.
Very good, thank you. Thanks for all the input. Any questions or comments from the commission? I guess what I will say is, we've heard a lot of public input, we appreciate that, and to me, it's not so much a question of solar or no solar, it's a land use question. What's the highest and best use of that land? And I think that's why we said no to winds, because they can take up a large tracts of land for a long time, and we're a growing community, and it's what do we want to see on that land? And I guess we're not saying that it can't go anywhere, but we want to review it pretty hard, and that's why we're tweaking this ordinance with setbacks and then reviewing it at the BZA for another public hearing. The AA, it can still be done, they just have to rezone to A. So there is a path. It's not really restricted. So we have this going forward, and we will hear about this at the April 15th Plan Commission. And I'd like to focus that on a land use, tweaking the ordinance, not pro-solar, not solar. That's not the question. Jackson, you have something, please.
Yeah, I would like to ask staff if possible. I thought there was one point that caught my attention. There were numerous points that caught my attention, but one that I want to look at adding potentially, and that is a percentage to the abandonment, to the abandoned definition, perhaps. And I would just like to ask staff, if you could, to take a look and see if there's anything like that that says if it's 60% functioning, it's considered abandoned. If it's 40% functioning, I'll leave that to you all to look into and maybe craft some language that we might be able to add at the full APC.
Sure, we'll look into it.
Thank you.
Any other comments? I think we're done. Are we ready to adjourn? Anything else from staff?
No.
Okay.
No, we don't.
I'll take that last motion.
I move we adjourn.
We're adjourned. Thanks, everybody.